What's going on, friends? It's Anton Daniels, and I gotta have a conversation with you guys about Tiege Hanley because you see how the sun is hitting me. This is no finesse, no makeup, no filters, no none of that. This is 100% Tiege Hanley. I use it in the morning as soon as I get up, right after I pray and brush my teeth, jump in the shower, and I'm hitting the streets because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So even though they're giving you 40% off your first order, 20% off for life, even though you may get a free gift, forget all that, right? Because we would do this even if it was full price because it's worth that much. I'm in the streets, I'm kicking it with people when I see Dusties everywhere. You don't want to be them. You want to separate yourself. And the way that you separate yourself is self-care. Ladies get it for the fellas. Fellas don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. I'm about to hit the streets right now and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling great. I mean, I already got confidence, but to have that extra boost of confidence, knowing that you've taken care of yourself and you set yourself apart from all of the rest of the sheep that's walking around making bad decisions on a daily basis. And it's reflected in their actions. It's reflected in the products that they use. It's reflected in the people that they follow. And so if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to make sure that you look good, they're going to send you the pack. They're going to give you all of the instructions on how you're supposed to use it. Then make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. Again, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Get your free gift. Make sure you tap in with your boy Anton Daniels because Unc is never going to lead you wrong. I would never have you use a product that I don't use myself. Again, they've been rocking with me for a long time. Make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels. It is Monday, January 27th, 2025, year of our Lord. We are almost done with the first month. And so if you guys have not dedicated yourself, made intentional or created intentional actions that allow for you guys to be super successful, you really need to get on the ball because I'm telling you, 2024 blew by, 2023 blew by. I was working on some videos over the weekend for the Patreon, and then I actually extended what Stock Club was going to be because I needed to see what the markets was going to do today because of this new application called DeepSeek from China. And so I'm going to go into that. What you guys will see is the actual new post for Stock Club, which we will do directly tomorrow after the show. So if you are a bag chaser, look forward to getting that information today. If you are a bag chaser, look forward to getting that information today. We will be doing Stock Club tomorrow directly after the show, which means that we're going to have a pretty extensive show today. I got a lot lined up for you guys. I'm thinking that the show probably going to go probably a little bit more than 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours today. I don't know. It depends on what the sentiment is, but we're definitely going to continue to push you guys. If you're not a part of the Patreon, link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Also, Tiege Hanley. Thank you to our sponsors, Tiege Hanley. 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. Thank you, Tiege, for continuing to hold us down. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up to all of my friends and family. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. What up, what's happening? Let me acknowledge the early Cash Appers because I always want to acknowledge my friends and family first. And then we're going to go ahead and get started with the show. Shout out to my girl, R. I appreciate you. I got it. I got it. I got it. You said don't read that one. ESDC, I appreciate you. Thank you for holding me down, big dog. And then my guy, Mike That Dude. Thank you, Mike That Dude, for supporting the platform and holding me down also. Yeah, man, it was a lot of work. A lot of things that we had to take care of over the weekend. We got Stock Club tomorrow, and I got another video dropping for y'all on Friday in which I break down for you guys exactly what I generated. Because, you know, every year I show you guys my bank accounts. I show you my W-2s. I show you my 1099s. And that's what we're going to be doing on Friday. But tomorrow we got Stock Club. So if you're not a part of the Bag Chasers, if you're not a part of the Patreon, the link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. All right. We got a lot to cover today. But before we get into prayer, I was actually thinking about something that my daughter brought me up to speed on last night. And I wanted to share it with you guys. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about today Because what I've been seeing on the internet, especially on TikTok and Instagram, because you guys send me a lot of different videos, are people looking to transition over from those platforms over to YouTube, right? And the reason that they're looking to transition from those platforms over to YouTube is because A, they don't want to be independent or interdependent on TikTok and all these other platforms to have their followers and their creators and things like that. And they're trying to figure out where the money is. Now, we all know that they're a little late to the game. And I'm starting to see a lot of people put out bad information. 9 out of 10 people that I see on these platforms giving information when it comes to transitioning over YouTube is giving wrong and false information. And they saying, oh, it's easy. You can build a following similarly to how you built TikTok. Nope. It's for the big boys over here. This is for the big boys over here. But I want to tell y'all what inspired me, because a lot of them are being inspired by the money. I wasn't necessarily inspired by the money, but I was inspired a little bit differently to really take what I was doing seriously, which then translated into what you see happening today. And the thing that really translated for me, ironically enough, was my daughter, right? My daughter, I'm just going to tell you, the value that she's brought into my life, I can't measure it. I can't understand for the life of me why people don't participate in their children's lives. Why, when they have children, it doesn't push them to be better versions of themselves. Because I will tell you, like, you can't really measure it, the value that she's brought into my life, because A, has motivated me to be better. And then B, on top of that, she's given me so much insight. And y'all really need to start listening to people and listening to your kids and listening to the people that you trust the most, because I've made her, I groomed her, I've given her the insight. And so she sees things that I don't see because she comes from a completely different lens, right? And even when she was little, I remember when she was little, her and I was sitting in the kitchen, we was having a conversation, and this had to be at least 10 years ago. It had to be somewhere around 7 to 10 years ago. Probably around 10 years ago, right? 9, 10 years ago or something like that, if I just had to guess. And me and her was sitting there and we were talking and we was having a conversation, and she said, Dad, can you get me these tickets? And I said, get you tickets to what? What you got going on? She said, oh, I can't wait to go see De'Ara and Ken. De'Ara and Ken. I don't mind giving people their props, and I don't mind just being 100% transparent, because that's what my life is, right? My whole life is being transparent and being honest about how I came to be who I am, because I'm documenting the journey, even here on the Millionaire Morning Show. And a lot of y'all may not be familiar with De'Ara and Ken, but De'Ara and Ken are huge content creators. I don't know who they are today. And the reason that I'm even having this conversation is because she brought up to me that they had broke up and all of this stuff. But De'Ara and Ken was like this young teenage couple, young, super young couple that was creating content together, and they was bringing a platform together. Now, again, I heard that they wind up being a little bit dusty, and she went on and they got divorced after they got married and all of this stuff. But they were a super young couple. But she was like, Dad, this was like 9, 10 years ago. She said, can you get me tickets to go see De'Ara and Ken? And I'm like, who is De'Ara and Ken? I'm thinking that it's some singers or something like that. And she was like, no, they YouTubers. They YouTubers, look. And so she started showing me all of their stuff or whatever. And you know me, my wheels go to spinning. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What do you mean they YouTubers? And they touring? What you going to see? De'Ara and Ken? She said, yeah, they coming to Michigan. They coming to Detroit, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, can you get me the VIP tickets and all of that? I said, what is going on? You know, we used to singers and rappers and comedians and all of this stuff. And I said, what is happening? So I get her the tickets because, you know me, I'm a softie for my daughter. And more importantly, I wanted to see for myself. So we take her to go see De'Ara and Ken, and they having dance offs or whatever. And it was so many young people and kids that was in there. And then I was also looking at how it was that they was building a platform and stuff like that. And I said to myself, if they can do it, I know it's a niche out here, because I got too much information, because it's not just about creating a platform in order to make money. I was like, I got too much value to add. I know too much. I know too much. I said, Leslie, how am I not famous? How am I not capitalizing off of it the same way today? She said, Dad, I don't know, because you're way better than everybody else. And I don't know if she was just filling my head or whatever, because my daughter is my biggest fan. However, I was just thinking to myself, this don't make no sense that I'm sitting here paying to take my daughter to go be entertained by somebody on YouTube. And that clicked for me. That was my wake up moment. That was my aha, wake up, grow up. Are you focused? Are you getting yourself together? Are you really dedicating yourself? That was my aha moment. I said, dog, ain't no way in the world that I should not be putting everything that I have after I get done with my businesses, after I get done with corporate America, that I should not be putting everything that I have into what it is that we build in here. I have way more value to add. And so I just started down the path. I started figuring it out. I had to understand it. I had to go and play the game. I had to go and see it. And I would often tap in with my daughter and the people that was around me and say, hey, give me your honest opinion. What do you like about this? What do you dislike about this? Oh, Dad, the audio was bad. Oh, Dad, I can't believe he did it like this. Oh, that was awesome. And you got to tap into the kids, man, because the kids, they will be brutally honest with you. They will tell you the honest to God truth. See, y'all be gassing me up. Y'all be trying to make it seem like every single thing that I do is awesome. No, y'all don't. Y'all be being awesome. Y'all be being honest with me. But the point that I'm making is that was my come to Jesus moment. That was my aha moment. And it was at that point that De'Aaron Ken convinced my daughter to get me to get some VIP tickets to go and see them in person. And that was like 19 years ago. That was the time that I decided that I wanted to go and document the journey, and I wanted to start figuring out what this thing looks like. Because, we had always been observing it. I know for a long time the people that now are on YouTube discounted it and was trying to act like, oh, you just a YouTuber? Yeah, I'm just a YouTuber. But that was my come to Jesus moment. That was my aha moment. That was when I figured out it's time to start getting it together and putting this thing in perspective and start having a conversation about how we going to do this going forward. That was it. It was through her, through my daughter, De'Aaron Ken. So I say that to say this. There's always going to be a ton of bad information out there. And nobody actually has the blueprint for what this thing is going to be going forward. There are those of us that have been doing it for a long time, and we are inspired by it, and we are great at what it is that we do. And even me, I am continuing to evolve and become a better version of myself when it comes to being a content creator. I mean, for God's sakes, I just built this studio, right? Or I just revamped this studio to be what it is today. But all I'm telling you is that you have to find something to inspire you, and you also need to surround yourself with people, even if it's the children, that will give you some insight on how you need to be doing things differently so you can then do what you got to do in order to run up a bag. And it don't even have to be with regard to content creation. It could be with regard to anything in your life. Whether you want to push yourself in corporate America, whether you want to start your business. Some people don't want to do businesses, and starting businesses may not be for everybody. Other people want to do certain things or whatever, so on and so forth, but you got to find your inspiration. For me, my inspiration always came through my daughter and the people that was around me. And she was giving me some insight yesterday that caused me to revamp some things. I had a conversation with her in the kitchen, and she was telling me some stuff, and I was like, I had another come to Jesus moment. Yesterday, in the kitchen, I had a come to Jesus moment, and I said, okay. All right, so I'm going to have to start doing things differently. I'm getting my second win. I'm super inspired to deep dive and go all into it and to really, really push myself harder than I ever have before. If you thought that you had seen the part of me that had already pushed and you was like, oh, Anton, you just pushing yourself too much and all of this stuff, you ain't seen nothing, bro. Over this next 2 years, 2 to 3 years, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. I promise you it's going to be insane. But anyways, with that being said, I appreciate everybody that's here. Thank you guys for tapping into the Millionaire Morning Show. We got an awesome show that's lined up for you guys today. I hope you buckled up into your seats. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Tiege Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. And let's get it. Zeroy says, maybe I need a kid. No, you don't need a kid. You just need to find something that inspires you. Some people have a kid and they worse off and they worse people than they are than they were before they had a kid. For me, it was motivation. So let's go ahead and get into the show. I do want to send up a couple prayers. We got to pray before we get started. I know y'all noticed the earlier time. It's about an hour earlier than what we had usually been doing, but we want to push the limits now, all right? So let's get to it, y'all. First and foremost, Lord, we ask that you come before us today. Give us the insight, give us empathy sometimes when it's needed, but don't let us be taken advantage of. Bless us with discernment, bless us with understanding. Give us humility from you, not from man. Bless us to stand 10 toes down on the things that we know is right to do. But bless us to be open to learning new information so that when we grow, we reserve the right to change our minds and do things better than we did the day before. Bless us and edify us. Give us the things that we need to say and do throughout the day, and give me what I need in order to entertain the people and put the medicine inside of the candy to ensure that they are successful. I love you. I appreciate you. You are the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life. And I pray everything in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all. Y'all ready to get started with the show? We got a lot to cover today. We getting into the money. We getting into AI. We getting into JD Vance. We getting into diversity, equity, and inclusion. We getting into these raids. We getting into everything, all right? So send this to your family and friends. We don't want to be rich and successful by ourselves. This is the greatest show on earth. Let's go ahead and get started with the show, all right? So first things first, I want to talk about Chicago. We knew that Boston last week, through countless examples and multiple different raids, it seemed like Boston was ground zero for immigration and customs to be tapping in and taking over and making sure that they set the example that these blue cities is no longer going to be tolerated as far as the criminal activity and things that's going on. But now it seems it's extended over all across the United States of America, including Chicago. Check it out.
Agents have been showing up to multiple places around the city of Chicago. Fox 32's Nate Rogers joins us now with more details on the agency's operations. Nate.
Absolutely, Tia and Dan. Good evening to the both of you. The border czar was in Chicago today. Tom Homan visiting various neighborhoods, according to sources. Agents were spotted in Albany Park, Garfield Park, also right here in South Shore. As ICE has confirmed operations beginning today. We spoke to many residents who say they're now on edge.
They noticed us because we kept an eye on them.
Federal agents surrounding a home here at 99th and Commercial. It happened early this afternoon.
It was about, like 5 unmarked cars. And at first, I thought it was just the police. And then they all just came out. And then I seen his badge, and I was like, oh, wait, it's really ICE.
Why is they putting him in the car with handcuffs on?
This Citizen App video showing more agents in Garfield Park. On X today, ICE saying they're, quote, conducting enhanced targeted operations in Chicago, enforcing immigration law, preserving public safety and national security by keeping potentially dangerous criminal aliens out.
No one opened the door, luckily. Yeah, but...
You know why they're not opening the door? They're not opening the door because Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and multiple different agencies and communities have been going out and spreading information on the importance of protecting and knowing your rights. Protecting and knowing your rights. They have spent a lot of time and a lot of energy. J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, governor of Illinois, Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago. You don't see them popping up in the neighborhoods when it came to regular community members, unless it was time to campaign and hopefully get that endorsement and get that check from the church, right? You didn't see him out in the streets when it was necessary for them to make sure that crime and corruption was stemmed. He was overseas saying that he was trying to solicit businesses to come and open up shop in Chicago. But you know what they did? They canvassed the neighborhood. They printed out flyers and pamphlets, and they went and they said, listen, guys, thank you for the super chat. I'm going to be reading that shortly. Don't open the door. Know your rights. We're going to protect you. This is how they're supposed to operate in the churches. This is how they're supposed to operate in the schools. Listen, we're going to empower and send out a memo to the police department and all of the administrators and the principals of what they can do to prevent agents and immigration and all of these people from being able to come in and get the criminals out of your neighborhoods. Let's continue.
They were out here, like 5 minutes, if that, and then other police officers pulled up, and then everyone just scattered.
Also on X, Mayor Johnson saying CPD was not involved and his team is working closely with officials. A top police source telling Fox 32.
Let's read that statement, guys. This is Brandon Johnson on X reaching out to his constituents and the people of Chicago. And he says, we've received reports of ICE enforcement activity in Chicago today. Please know that Chicago police were not involved. They saying we not helping, we not participating, we standing down. Even if we arrest a criminal that just so happens to be an illegal migrant in Chicago, we are not holding them. We are going to do catch and release. We're not charging them. They will be residents and we have protection over them, even if it starts to affect other people inside of the community. It's important that everyone understands their rights, is what he said. Illegal migrants that are committing crimes inside of the United States of America, he says it's important that everybody understands their rights. You can access the Know Your Rights resource guide at chicago.gov. They stood that up fast, didn't they? This is y'all mayor.
And his team is working closely with officials. A top police source telling Fox 32, although CPD was informed of general locations for the operations, there is no collaboration. CPD is not given specific addresses, names, or violations.
I voted for President Trump. I like President Trump. I like his ideas. But I think on this issue, if anyone deserves papers, it's these people that have been here a long time and they're working and they are paying their taxes.
Back here in South Chicago, it's unknown who agents were looking for. Jesus Gonzalez has lived on the block 30 years. He says his neighbors are great.
They're targeting the wrong people. People are afraid to go out. People are afraid to go to work. That's not right. That's not what America's about. America's about living the dream.
And tonight, Fox News is reporting, according to Border Czar Tom Homan, multiple national security threats, quote, were taken off the streets right here in Chicago, including aggravated sex offenders and convicted murderers. Also, Mayor Johnson wants to assure everyone knows and understands their rights. The Know Your Rights resource guide can be found online at chicago.gov.
Let's pivot for a second. Let's get it from another angle, because they say that these guys, listen, man, they are good people. They never did nothing to nobody, even though they got criminal records and they walked over here illegally. Let me ask y'all a question, because I know we got to have somebody. You don't have to answer in the chat, because I don't want you to think that they're going to be looking for you in the chat. Don't worry about it. You good here. Let me ask y'all in the chat, for those of you that may have come over here the right way, or if you know somebody that came over here the right way, how do y'all feel about all of the money and the thousands of dollars that y'all had to pay and the tests y'all had to take and the lines y'all had to wait in and the renewals that y'all had to get on a regular basis and the dedication to the American culture and American people in the United States of America before you wind up becoming a legal citizen? How does it feel to see people skip the line and commit crimes and to have other people standing up for them? It's got to anger you. It's got to anger you more than even us as Americans, because we were born here. And so because we were born here, we understand that we have rights, or we're supposed to be operating within, a certain silo of privilege. And that's just the way that it is. It's almost like my daughter, right? My daughter was born unto me. And so all she's ever known is this. So even though she can be appreciative of the fact that she is under me, that is just her cultural norm. But for those of you that came here and you waited and you worked and you dedicated yourself and you did the right thing, how does it feel to see somebody skip the line? Y'all don't even like to see people skip the line in the grocery store. I could be walking past, let's say it's a line to get in the venue, or it's a line to a food truck, or it's a line to get into a specific building for whatever reason. Sometimes I can be walking past to get through, and I could be sliding through. You may think that I'm skipping a line and trying to get in front of you, and y'all be ready to confront me then. People are ready to confront you when they think that you are trying to skip the line, and I'm like, oh, excuse me, I'm just trying to get through. Oh, okay, cool. And then they'll let you through. How does it feel to you guys, to the American citizens who actually waited their turn, did what they were supposed to do? How does it feel that resources have to go to support other people when you guys actually did it the right way and you waiting to get in here the right way? Just a question. Let's continue.
This is breaking news. ICE carrying out its first nationwide operation under the Trump administration, resulting in over 1,000 arrests.
Let me read this real quick. It says, but only waits 44 says, my child's mother and her family spent nearly $100,000 on getting green cards the right way. 7 of them in total. She was my wife at one point, and it took us 7 years. Some of her family waited 10 years. Now, I think that we need to figure out how to expedite the process. I'm assuming that the process is a little bit slowed down because there's so many people requesting to get in here. But considering that, ain't it disrespectful that y'all got people that just skip the line and say, hey man, I deserve to be here because I pay taxes? We all pay taxes. Some of us way more than others. And you just got people skipping the line and they just able to just demanding their reparations in the form of a green card and or citizenship inside of the United States of America, and they want to vote? That's crazy.
Arrests happening in multiple states, from New York to California and Illinois to Colorado. The arrests come as the Trump administration is moving rapidly to fulfill its promise to launch an historic mass deportation operation. Chicago's governor says he too wants violent criminals out of the country, but he's raising concerns about how the administration is carrying things out.
And I've said many times, violent criminals who are undocumented in this country should be deported. There is a federal law that allows that deportation. But when we're talking about undocumented people who have been living law-abiding lives and raising families in the United States, we need comprehensive immigration reform. We need to give them an opportunity to stay in this country legally.
This all comes as President Trump's border czar Tom Homan is now on the ground in Chicago to oversee the arrests himself. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Anna Koyman in New York City. It's Sunday, the 26th of January, 3 o'clock on the East Coast. And it's time for News Nation Now. We do have so much to cover today, so we're going to get right to that breaking news on Trump's immigration enforcement plans. And News Nation's Mills Hayes is live there for us in Chicago. What can you tell us about the scale of these operations and the specific criteria being used to identify these individuals who are being arrested?
Hey, Anna. Well, Chicago has some of the strongest sanctuary city protections, which prevent city police officers from cooperating with immigration agents. And border czar Tom Homan is in the Windy City this weekend, working with other federal agencies to make good on his promise of mass deportations. But Homan wasn't alone today. Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove was also in Chicago on Sunday to see firsthand the operations. Federal agencies like the FBI, DEA, ATF, and the U.S. Marshals are all working with the Department of Homeland Security. The Deputy Attorney General said in a statement, we will support federal, state, and local levels who join this critical mission to take back our communities. We will use all available tools to address obstruction and other unlawful impediments. The city of Chicago and its Mayor Brandon Johnson have been adamant about the city's sanctuary city status. Democratic City Alderman Raymond Lopez slammed Johnson for his position earlier.
He's not concerned about the long-term undocumented Mexican immigrants that are here who've been waiting for a path to come out of the shadows. He's not concerned about the dreamers who have higher standards than even asylum seekers for how they have to behave in communities. He openly welcomes the city of Chicago to the asylum seekers that have come here over the last 4 years, spending $600 million to meet their every women need, while neglecting his own African-American communities on the South and West side.
Ooh. How come it always
Anna,
takes somebody outside of the establishment for you to start to see things a little bit differently? He really broke it down. He said, listen, they've spent an egregious amount of money on people that's not even supposed to be here, on asylum seekers. They didn't spend money. Look, don't come to us now saying how we need to change things and how we need to reset the system to more or less reflect how we're supposed to move and expediting the process of people getting green cards and or citizenship inside of the United States of America. Please don't come to me with that nonsense. You know why? Because you didn't spend money on that. You spent money on protecting people that you knew wasn't supposed to be here and supporting criminals that then are released back onto the streets, and then the people suffer as a result of it. Chicago spent so much time debating and pushing through a budget that at some point increased taxes, even if it wasn't property taxes, it increased taxes on the general population. They spent more energy on that than they did on supporting the people that were already there, including pushing through the process. We need to update the system. Okay, cool. We'll work on the system and dedicate yourselves to the system, but we do not support criminal organizations, and it's not going to be tolerated. It cannot be tolerated. It is a cancer on our community. And I am amazed that throughout all the pushback, and even with Eric Adams snitching on the Biden administration and saying that they told him, which I'm almost certain that they told Brandon Johnson the same thing. Be a good Democrat, Eric. It's like a gallstone. It's going to pass. I'm almost positive that they told Brandon Johnson and Mike Johnston and Karen Bass the same things. Even though Karen Bass was getting cussed out by Trump over the weekend, I'm positive that they told them the same thing. Be a good Democrat. They're not even in office no more. You don't even have to stand on business. All you got to do is support what we ain't even going to say what the American people want. What's right? What's right? Do we not know the difference between what's right and wrong, ladies and gentlemen? I'm just wondering. Do we not know the difference between right and wrong? Do we not know that you're not supposed to just walk over into somebody else's house, let alone somebody else's country, and stand on their couch and open up their refrigerator and eat their food? Do we not know this? Did we not get taught that when we were children from our mothers and our grandparents and our fathers that, hey, when you go into somebody else's house, first you knock. You don't just open up the door. You don't just open up the door. My daughter don't just walking. She be, Dad, I'm on my way home. Hey, can you unlock the door for me, or can you open up the garage? I'm gonna need some help. My daughter called before she get home. You just walked over here with size 12 shoes, and we was just supposed to be like, you know what? Welcome. We love you. We don't know where you from. We don't know where you came from. We vet the women that we date better than we vetted the migrants that came over here. You want to know somebody's my chart before you eat after them at the restaurant nowadays. Hey, where your my chart at? I need to know if you got HPV1, HPV2. Why you still calling it STDs when we renamed it to STIs? You know what? I don't think that you need to be in part of my life, and I'm going to block you. Block. But we sitting there defending people that we don't know, that came from places that we're not even familiar with. You ain't never even visited them. You don't know nothing about their homes. You don't know nothing about where they came from. They made you up a story. Y'all criticize me, and y'all want to see my bank accounts, and y'all sitting there capping and caping for these people that you don't even know them. You don't even know them. You don't know nothing about her. You don't know nothing about him. You don't know nothing about what they was doing in their home country.
A surprising guest with border czar Tom Homan today, Dr. Phil. The reality star took to X to say that he was embedded with the border czar for ICE operations here in Chicago. We have also reached out about embedding with ICE and are hoping that they will get back to us. Anna?
What up, Quinn?
Of course, we want to see how everything's going down, too. How are immigrant rights groups reacting to all this, Mills?
Well, you can imagine they're not happy right now, and they say that many undocumented migrants are avoiding going to work because they don't want to get rounded up by ICE. And on Saturday, several immigrant rights groups sued ICE seeking an injunction prohibiting certain types of immigration raids in Chicago. Vice President J.D. Vance was on CBS News this morning defending the Trump administration's decision to allow ICE agents in churches, hospitals, and schools.
Chicago, y'all in the way. You know what? I like it when these cities are in the way, to be honest with you. I genuinely do. I like it when cities are in the way. And the reason that I like it when cities are in the way is because you need to make an example of them. You got to make an example of them. It's important to make an example of the bad apple. That's why occasionally I look through the chat and I see who's authentically being dusty. And I say, you know what? His daddy didn't like him. Let me go ahead and give him and read him the riot act. His daddy didn't like him. Let me go ahead and read you the riot act. Occasionally, I got to make an example of somebody. And sometimes they become collateral damage, but you have to make an example. You got to set an example so that people don't continue to do bad things, because one bad apple ruins the whole bunch. Brandon Johnson, we own you. We all over it this time. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats. It's going to be a good show today. We just getting started. Sat Sheet Stuffer says, what's good, Anton? Finally caught alive. Back from deployment last month. Shout out to you, big dog. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for holding us down. And thank you for serving the United States of America. He said it was rough. It was rough, big dog. Oh, man. But we love you, though. Shout out to you. Shadow Dragon TV says, what up, big dog? Wellness check. How you feeling? I feel incredible. I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling incredible, and I'm feeling inspired. Thank you. Thank you for asking, Shadow Dragon TV. Mr. Lot in the building says, ICE got migrants playing Jeezy. Don't get caught. Don't get caught. Shout out to you, Mr. Lot. I appreciate you. Cam Comb in the building. What up to Cam Comb? Make sure y'all go and check out Cam Comb. They got a phenomenal product. I still use mine to this day. FPSD says, once people recognize they're not Democrats, they're communists. That's a good one. Keep running it up, says EB Miles Davis. Eddie B in the building. I appreciate you, Eddie B, says, Anton, while it's heartbreaking to see a breakup of a family, y'all heartbroken over that? Are y'all heartbroken? Are y'all the sentimental kind? While it's heartbreaking to see the breakup of a family, they broke the law coming here. While we can feel bad, we don't have the resources to continue this, as it disproportionately affects black people the most. Listen, I'm such a savage. Maybe I'm just a bad person. I don't know. I look at everything from a business perspective. I told somebody this morning, I said, you know what? I told somebody this morning, I said, you know what? You know what changed my life? You know what changed my life? Removing how I feel from a love perspective way back in high school has allowed for me to see clearly, make smart decisions, and never find myself at a disadvantage in life. I don't think based off of empathy, love, oh my God, I feel bad for you. I can't see you. I don't see you. I don't. Way back in high school, I tucked that away, put that away, and the minute that I started to feel something, I can't do that, because then that's how you get taken advantage of. That's how you get finessed. I don't see things from a love perspective. I need unquestioned obedience. The love is supposed to come afterwards. I need unquestioned obedience. I can't do it. I can't do it because love has you blinded. It puts scales over your eyes. And when you react based off of how you feel instead of what makes the most sense, you often at times choose wrong. That's how you become a baby daddy. That's how you become a baby daddy. Listen, I'm going to be married for the rest of my life. That's just the facts. if I wasn't, hypothetically speaking, I wouldn't be the man for you. I'm being honest with you. I wouldn't be the man for you because you want a man. A lot of y'all say that y'all want a man that expresses himself and give his emotions and his feelings. I'm not that. I'm not that. I can give you something else, but I can't give you that. I'm not built like that. I'm built differently. You know what I'm saying? I'm a vault. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry about it. I'm going to teach you. Shout out to you, Eddie B. Tuck that away, big dog. No emotions, no empathy, no nothing. In his Luby says, afraid to go outside can only mean one thing. 2024 was rough health-wise and financially interviewing for a new job tomorrow. Hopefully it all goes well. You ain't got to hope for it. All you got to do is prepare, big dog. Shout out to Enos Luby. P. Shank says, good morning, Anton. Good morning, P. Shank. Abdul says, I would love to see you on a Breakfast Club talking to Charlamagne and Envy. For what? I got my own platform. I'm talking to you right now. Smooth Artist says, Border Czar, put the C in there. Put the C before the Z. Needs to be careful and watch his surroundings because these illegals will do anything to stay. He served under 7 administrations. I think he'll be all right. We got faith in Tom Homan. Tia Marie 2, shout out to Tia Marie 2, says, illegal immigration equals robbing a bank and then opening a homeless shelter with it and thinking that it negates the fact that you robbed the bank or stealing a car or filling it's yours because you put gas in it. Give me a round of applause for that one. Tia, I ain't seen you cook like that in a long time. Michael Russell says, it took my mom 7 years, thousands of dollars to finally become a citizen. I remember gearing up to take the exam as a kid, only to find out since I was underage, I was granted citizenship because my mom took the exam. Shout out to your mom. Your mom is a real MVP. Don't you feel disrespected by these people just coming over here doing what they want to do? Anton, blessings. Had to pay to be here and for citizenship and join the army. Another issue, countries need the process to make money on visa passports. Okay, Whiskey. Talk to him. Eddie B says, only meant the videos they showing for effect. Nah, I'm not affected at all. Tracy Clark, I appreciate you, Tracy. Thank you for the 20 ball. Deion Hendricks says, AD, we know you built for it tough, man. Listen, Hummer 1, H1 Hummer. That's what we rocking with. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's deep dive. So they're not just doing it in Chicago. Chicago is not the only place that's ground zero. Thank you, Abdul. I'll be reading that super chat shortly. Chicago is not the only place that's ground zero. It's happening everywhere. Boston, Atlanta. I heard that it was happening in Arizona, Los Angeles. I heard that immigration officials have quotas to remove over 1,000 criminal illegals every single day, at least, and to ramp it up and take anybody that's harboring them. And Trump is possibly saying that he want to figure out how he can file charges against people that is obstructing and getting in the way of ICE or immigration officials from getting these people up out of there. It's rough out here in these streets. Check it out.
And thanks for joining us tonight at 11. I'm Ron Jones. That is our top story tonight. We're watching major crackdowns on immigration enforcement all across the country, including right here in Metro Atlanta. And tonight, the DEA says that they've made several arrests in cities like Atlanta, Cartersville, and Savannah. Check out this video. This is from MG News. This is cell phone video. It shows DEA agents outside of a house in Lilburn where they arrested a man from Honduras. And we're learning that agents are focusing on people who are wearing immigration GPS monitors. Now, these devices are used to track down immigrants who are either waiting for their immigration cases to be decided or have been flagged as possible public safety risks. The family says they opened up the door after agents showed them a picture of him because they were scared it was an arrest order, but it really wasn't. Well, the man's family says the agents came in, checked his GPS monitor, and then took him away. We're also learning about whistleblower Velasquez Cruz. He was arrested at a church in Tucker. His family says he's from Honduras, came to the country in 2022 with his wife and 3 kids on a work permit pending asylum. We're told the permit was valid for 4 more years. The only time he was arrested was at the border with his family, and that's when ICE put the GPS monitor on him. 11 Alive Teresa Bowles is here speaking with a criminal defense attorney and Latino community advocate. And Teresa, what is he saying about all of this?
Ron, he says undocumented immigrants should basically go into hiding for the next 4 years. He even says avoid driving unless absolutely necessary. It's just not worth the risk.
Are y'all hearing what the recommendations are? Undocumented migrants, people that are here illegally, they're advising them to go underground and to go, bro, you might as well go home. You might as well go home. They telling y'all to go ahead and create this underground economy, sell drugs, and then hide. They told y'all to hide for 4 years. Are y'all listening to the recommendations that's coming from the news, courtesy of people that are protecting migrants, such as these blue city governors and mayors? Listen to what they saying to y'all. This is what they telling y'all.
The advocate. And Teresa, what is he saying about all of this?
Ron, he says undocumented immigrants should basically go into hiding for the next 4 years. He even says avoid driving unless absolutely necessary. It's just not worth the risk.
They are motivating, inspiring, and pushing you. Jesus, where am I living at? Is this Los Santos? Am I Los Santos? Some of y'all may know what Los Santos is. GTA 5. I heard GTA 6 is coming out with a trailer soon. Is this Los Santos Customs? What do you mean go into hiding? Is this the Fast and the Furious? All right, this is Brock. Braga doesn't like you here. This is Colombia. Is this Los Santos? Y'all could just go into hiding? Where they do that at? Hey. It's time to go home, fam. It's time to go home. When it get that difficult, when you got to figure it out from that lens, it's time to go home. Y'all want to become passport bros anyway. Y'all already got citizenship in the country that y'all from. Unless you did something there or you wanted from something that you wasn't supposed to be doing in the first place. It's time to go home, bro.
Here are some photos from today's operations, including what appears to be arrests on the airport tarmac. The DEA says teams have been helping Homeland Security with these enforcement efforts around Metro Atlanta. Attorney Surinder Shada Jimenez tells me what's likely happening is people with
Brandon Murray says, Anton, please help. Migrant workers who work for Paul Davis Restoration Company in Illinois stole or ate my cat. What? Man, I don't even know what I'm reading right now.
pending immigration cases being arrested, even those who are being released with ankle monitors. He believes authorities could be tracking people through these monitors, making it easier to find them. This is forcing many undocumented immigrants into hiding, and if they're arrested, he says it's much harder to fight their case while in custody. Here's his advice to anyone in this situation.
If you have an ankle monitor, if you have a pending immigration case, the best thing you can do is make sure you contact your attorney, your immigration attorney. If you don't have one, hire one immediately and do not cut it off, because if you had a path to a legal status, by cutting it off, you're violating the terms of your release, and whatever you might have gotten, it's going to be off the table.
Jimenez also warns people not to fall for scams. If authorities are looking for you, they're not going to call and ask for money or ask you to meet them somewhere. Ron?
This is insane, but that's not the only place that this is taking place at. And this is some of the results of what these raids have turned up. And this should inspire you guys to actually help get some of these people that's not supposed to be here out of our communities. Check this out.
We're back here for you on Live Now from Fox. Thanks again for always joining us. Sunday edition continues to carry on. I'm your host, Mike Pace. Always great to be with you. The border czar for the White House Tom Homan says that you can expect weekly increases of migrant arrest here. That news being made earlier today. The border czar Tom Homan warning that daily deportation numbers are set to rise in the coming weeks as President Trump's administration begins to expand its operations. Homan made the comment during a Sunday appearance on ABC News' This Week with host Martha Raddatz. The border chief says the administration is currently only targeting violent, illegal aliens, but that will soon change. You're going to see the number steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide, as we open up more operations, he said. Right now, it's concentrating on public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going.
Let me read this one real quick. 'Cause you know the chat is my co-host. Is it Civ says yes, they are showing brown people, Mexicans, Haitians, Colombians, etc. They are all brown too. What does that mean? What does that mean? Brown. What does that mean? Does that mean anything other than white that's not black? Is that what brown mean? Are Asian people brown too? Because I'm just trying to understand what the color codes are. What's purple? Is it blue people? Civ, I'm trying to understand it. Explain it to me, Civ. Give me a little bit of insight.
Going to do this on a priority basis. That's President Trump's promise. But as that operation opens, there will be more arrests nationwide. When you talk about the aperture opening, the estimates of those who have been convicted or arrested in the past are 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do all that, then you go after everybody who is here illegally, Raddatz asked. If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table because it's not okay to, violate the laws of this country. You got to remember, every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, the United States Code 1325. It's a crime, Holman responded. So if you're in a country illegally, you got a problem. And that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally, who have not been ordered or removed by a federal judge, they should just leave right now. The statement comes after Homan warned sanctuary cities across the U.S. that their policies will not prevent deportations and will instead endanger communities, federal agents, and illegals. Sanctuary cities are defined by a policy of not turning over illegals to federal authorities when they are arrested. The illegal migrants are then often released back into the communities. Homan urged officials in sanctuary cities to help with the effort on Fox and Friends last week. Work with us because you're forced this into your community. He continued, here's what's going to happen. We'll find the bad guy. When we find him, he's going to be with others that may not have a criminal priority. But guess what? If they're in the United States illegally, they're going to be arrested too, and they're going to be out of here. I want to save lives. A secure border saves lives.
Arissa, that girl, 1293 says, who's going to pick my tomatoes and avocados for my pico? You are. You better get a garden. You better get a garden. You know what I found, Arissa? I found it to be highly offensive to people shout out to Life of Tariq, shout out to all of the super chats. I'm going to read those shortly. I found it to be highly offensive to people when they show these videos on social media and they show them doing all of this hard work. Where I seen a guy that says, who's gonna lay your groundwork? Who's going to do your concrete work? Who's going to do your roofs? Trump, F Trump. And so he disrespected the president. And I seen that happen on social media and all of that, right? And then I see people in the comments and they say, who's going to do this work? What do you mean who's going to do it? So what y'all basically are telling me is that we need to justify having a slave culture or an underclass so that you can feel comfortable. So we shouldn't solve for that problem inside of the United States of America. We should have a permanent underclass and let them work their ways up in order to become a part of the social class, the social culture and standard inside of America. Basically, what y'all are advocating for is for us to have slaves. Y'all talk just like slave owners. Who's going to do this hard work? Thank you for your service. Thank you for contributing to the American service. So basically what y'all saying is your housekeepers and all of these people, and there's nothing wrong with being a housekeeper. There's nothing wrong with being a farmer, whatever it is that you want to do. But why do people try to justify people being here illegally in order to be able to have a slave culture? Oh, it's jobs, April. It's jobs. It's jobs.
Holman said when President Trump locks down the border, less women and children will be sex trafficked in this country.
Facts.
Less criminals are going to be in this country. Under President Biden, we've had a record number of people die crossing the border and a 600% increase in sex trafficking. So again, everyone, we continue to follow the very latest here for you on Live Now from Fox when it comes to the migrant crisis. Now, what we want to do is showcase from just a little bit ago, the White House putting out some of these big arrests.
Somebody said they don't want to pay a living. Oh, wait a minute. What happened to all of y'all Democrat liberal policies? Pay everybody a livable wage. So wait a minute. Do they not deserve a livable wage? Y'all don't want to pay them? Y'all don't want to pay Americans? Oh, you want all foreign labor. You want cheap labor. You don't want union labor. Wait, I thought y'all supported the union. So either you support people that illegally come over here and undocumented migrants that do the work for a cheaper price, or you want to pay everybody a livable wage. Which one is it? I find so much hypocrisy amongst liberals. Because at the same time that they're benefiting from some of the most egregious things that happen in our society, they advocating against it because they want to remain ignorant and turn a blind eye to the truth. And the truth is the same thing that you advocating for is a thing that you speak against. I find so much hypocrisy amongst liberals. You want to pay everybody a livable wage, but you want to make sure that people remain here illegally doing work for too cheap so that you can maintain your lifestyle. Interesting.
That they are celebrating right now as these migrants will soon be deported. Take a look here what the White House put out a little bit earlier today, saying under President Trump's leadership, ICE agents are working tirelessly to protect our communities from child rapists to suspended ISIS terrorists.
Edgar de la Cruz Manzo was convicted of raping a child, and he just now got arrested by ICE 2 days ago in Seattle. Weekend coup. Now, according to all the rest of these people should still be on our streets. Convicted of raping a child and still on the streets of the United States of America over in Seattle, one of the most liberal places that you can go to. Portland and Seattle are sister cities almost.
Here are some of the worst there, and they showcase this one arrested by ICE Seattle on January 25th. So just yesterday, convicted of rape of a child, Edgar de la Cruz Manzo, a convicted child rapist, was arrested by ICE Seattle just yesterday. And there's others the White House is showcasing like this one, suspected ties.
Suspected terrorist. He looked like a suspected terrorist. He looked just like a suspected terrorist. He looked like he belonged in a Bond movie. MS-13 gang member wanted for murder, meaning that he probably committed. He just haven't been proven guilty yet. Crazy. Look at these people that's in here. Wanted for murder in Mexico. Okay, so you was able to do a murder in Mexico and then come over here into the United States of America as an asylum seeker. And he was in Los Angeles. He had an Interpol red notice and he was walking around in the United States of America and he was hanging out in Los Angeles. It's a chance that you guys probably walked past this guy. Somebody in this, over 6,000 people in here on YouTube alone, somebody here know of somebody, or if you have not walked past this guy every single day, he probably speaks to you and y'all say, oh no, he's just a good guy. He don't bother nobody. That's because he on the low. He got an Interpol notice on him over there in Los Santos, Mexico. He hanging out over here in the United States of America, acting like he picking berries and juices. This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. 1,000% absolutely insane. But I know y'all love y'all illegals. I know y'all love y'all illegals. This is right up y'all alley, huh? Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notification. We going ice cold. Ice cold. All right. Let me read some of these super chats and we go over to the next part of the show. Abdul says, would you be willing to debate Roland Martin? I would love to see that. Sure. Why not? Absolutely. I'd debate roly-poly. Why not? That would be worth the price of admission, wouldn't it? J Pitt City says the illegals been sneaking into Connecticut from New York, but even more since the elections. Get these criminals, they're ruining the Northeast. I got to follow the laws. So do they. Eddie B is in the building, says Robin Harris said, back in the day, when you got to go, you got to go. You got to go. Trini Life in the building. Shout out to Trini Life. Trini Life says, how they giving tips A through D on how to escape the ice popo? A-Man on one says, it's okay to be effed up and you get a pass. It's okay to be effed up and you get a pass. Only Square says, being on a run for 4 years is nuts. Take massive resources too. Yoshi504 says, look how organized, resourceful Dems are for them. Life of Tariq is in the building, says this year, all the black people that say they are not black, but a different background, not saying that now after all of the deportation rolled out. Oh, so wait a minute. Y'all not saying that y'all got Chinese in y'all family no more? Don't worry about it. We'll get there. Full Metal. Shout out to Full Metal says, I have credible information for why you don't see fentanyl overdoses in Mexico like you do here in America. It's because the cartel makes selling the drug illegal. And the consequence is death. No slap on the wrist. Crazy. Divine B Hop says, Anton, do you need electricians in the Cook County area? I am a veteran and licensed electrician. It would be an honor to work on one of your projects out there. In the Cook County area? I'm not in Cook County. I'm in Detroit, Metro Detroit. Macomb, Wayne, Oakland County. Macomb, Wayne, Oakland County. I'm not in Cook County, big dog. You talking about over in Chicago. We call that Crook County. You know what I'm saying? Aries says, oh my God, you are so right. These people are crazy. They sound like slave owners. It's horrible. They are slave owners. Enforcer 2K9 says, so black folks made such a big deal about black jobs, but somehow migrant jobs are just fine. I like that. Brandon Vegas is in the building, says, who gonna pick my tomatoes or build houses? Is the equivalent of saying we can't end slavery. Who's going to pick the cotton? Democrats will be Dixiecrats. That's exactly what it is. Faraz says, instead of bring back Aunt Jemima, they want to bring Aunt Maria. Alex Oubre, my dog, says, today Unc is showcasing a phenomenal GMT. How you know what this is? You like that? Okay, all right. Since you want to talk about it. Since we talking about it, how you know what this is? Steel and Yellow Gold Jubilee for the haters. Would love to have you on a Watch Talk episode. Yeah, let me know. How you know about that? How you know? I didn't even do a vlog about this. I picked this up this weekend, big dog. Literally, I picked it up on Saturday. All right. I wasn't going to show this one because I don't really do vlogs on watches anymore because I try to keep it a little G. I wasn't going to do this one, but I'll show it to you. How you know about this? What you know about that? 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 Yeah, I picked this one up this weekend. Yep. It's beautiful. So this is my newest piece. See the black with the gray at the bottom, the GMT Master 2? Gorgeous. What you know about that? I can't believe you spotted that. Y'all got some good eyes. Let me make sure I got all of the lint out my beard while we at it. You know what I'm saying? Wow, that's impressive. I picked that up this weekend. But I don't really talk about it. I didn't vlog it. But that's good eye. That's a good eye. Yeah, man, let's do Watch Talk. I'm with it. Let me know when y'all ready. I'm with it. Somebody said, how much was it? It was all right. It was all right. I got the call from my my authorized dealer. They said, Anton, I got a piece in for you. Shout out to you, Alex. I appreciate you. King Jacquin says, who gonna do the contractor work? They asked. Well, my cuz will do the concrete. My bros will do the electrical, carpentry. We'll find plumbers. And my other cuz will be the HC, the head contractor, since he has a license. Holla at me. All right, I see you. My girl, sis. What up, sister? Good morning, AD. Love your profiling skills. We profile everybody over here. Rosita of Tila says, good morning, sir. AD, just opened my first brokerage account. Retired, but never too old to learn. Next, learning about stocks. Thank you for the inspiration. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as put to the top of the chat. Camille Edwards is in the building. Says, hey, AD, are you still hiring? Not sure if that email got lost. I filled that position, but I'm actually looking to fill some other positions. So I'll let y'all know. I'm going to put it out there soon. We expanding. It's insulting that the Dems, Libs, and Al Sharpton are lumping in the LGBTQ struggle and illegal migrants with the black struggle during the 50s and the 60s. Well, that's how the civil rights movement was hijacked, right? Elim is in the building and says, Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio are bringing back car manufacturers. Your economies will be off the charts in the next 6 months. We're going to talk about that in Stock Club tomorrow. Bob and Cat says, Sheba Dog, shout out to you for the super sticker. I appreciate you. And Donnie ZTV says, LA, my coworkers keep asking me if I seen ice. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's deep dive, y'all. Let's go further into the mire. All right, let's talk about Colombia. So Trump got into a little bit of a spat. We only going to spend 10, 12 minutes on this one. Trump got into a little bit of a spat with Colombia. This is how it started, and then we're going to talk about how it ended, all right?
Moments ago, President Donald Trump says he has issued his first tariff on Colombia after 2 U.S. deportation flights of undocumented migrants were not allowed to land in Colombia. CNN's Steve Contorno is joining us now live from Florida. Steve, tell us more.
Yeah, Fred, just moments ago, Donald Trump reacting to the news that Colombia had blocked planes carrying undocumented migrants from delivering those individuals back to their home country, and Trump now retaliating with tariffs and threats of more tariffs. He said in a post on social media, quote, I was just informed that the 2 repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States. So he has then goes on to say that he is taking some action against the Colombian government, including a 25% tariff on goods coming from Colombia immediately. And
I want to say that that's a pretty spectacular camera that he got on. I'm glad that a lot of these news companies are starting to upgrade their equipment and they're not dusty no more. That's a pretty good camera that they got out there. Great lens, great lighting, all of that. Look like he down there in Miami.
Threatening to raise that to up to 50% next week. He also is calling for a travel ban and immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and sanctions on party members and family members that support the Colombian government. So, Fred, this is an early example of how Donald Trump's immigration crackdown is already colliding with his foreign policy and trade proposals, and the first of maybe more to come, Fred.
And then, Steve, how immediate are we talking?
Well, he says in the post that these the 25% tariffs are, quote, an emergency and will go into place immediately. And then in 1 week, the 25% tariff will be raised to 50%, which would be quite a steep climb. Of course, Trump has already proposed sweeping tariffs on many of the U.S.'s trade partners, including a 25% trade tariff on Mexico and Canada that he says might go into effect next month. He is also promising a trade tariff on goods coming from China in recent weeks if they don't negotiate a new deal with the United States. So clearly this has been top of mind for Donald Trump for more than a year. He has said he will use tariffs to get the international players to act in the best interest of the United States and to raise revenue for the country. And we are starting to see him use them as a sort of stick to try to get countries to do the U.S.'s bidding. Fred?
So Trump basically says, oh, you don't want to take your own people back. Which then begs the question, and we got to ask ourselves, if they don't want them and they sent them over here, why should we take them? They didn't even ask no questions. They didn't say, who are they? What are their names? Why are you sending them back? Are these criminals or are these just people that ran over there in order to send more money over here for their families? They didn't ask if they did any crimes. Are you safe? They didn't say none of that. They said, hey man, listen, them is people that's citizens here, don't land here, don't come here. When we have citizens that get in trouble in other countries, remember all of those people that was over in Turks and Caicos and they said that it was a rare random bullet that was in their stuff and they wanted to give them 10 years? We fight for our criminals to come back home. Remember when Brittany Griner was over in Russia with a vape pen? And we traded Brittany Griner for the Russian merchant of death, and we gave the Russian merchant of death, courtesy of the Biden administration, back to Russia, back to Vladimir Putin over there. Remember when we was fighting? We left. Don't worry, they went and traded a whole host of things in order to get those guys back that was supposed to come back before Brittany Griner. We traded the Russian merchant of death back over to Russia for Brittany Griner. Remember the truck driver that was over in Dubai causing a stink and cussing people out and breaking their customs and their culture, and they arrested her? And we had all of our Congress members, all of the local leaders, all of the international leaders commenting on it and saying, we got to get her back. We got it. We fight and we fund our people to come back. We pay for the plane ride. We do a press conference and we be loving on them. And they come back over here in the United States of America and add no value whatsoever. We fight for our people to come back. They be like, hey, keep them over there. Don't send them. We don't want nothing to do with them. We not interested in taking anybody back. And that's what Colombia said. That's what Gustavo said for Colombia. As much coke as we done got from Colombia, as rich as we done made all of y'all drug dealers over there in Colombia, you telling me you ain't gonna take these people back? You ain't gonna take him back? You not taking her back? You want him to stay over here in the United States of America? Okay, I got something for you.
Okay, Steve Contorno, thank you so much. We'll check back with you. So all of these policies are already deterring some migrant groups from continuing their journey to the U.S. as well. CNN correspondent Rafael Romo is joining me now with details on that. Before we get to that, Rafael, I know you've been in contact with a number of people in Colombia, not necessarily in the last few minutes that this just happened, but in general, the kinds of imports that would come from Colombia to the U.S. involves food. Yeah, and the tariffs then being imposed near immediately, according to, Trump's directive here, would mean any kinds of products would cost more to Americans.
Well, we don't even have to worry about that. It's no point in going through what will be tariffed because we solved this problem in 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, Trump solved problems and is fixing international relations without even having to pour any more money into NATO. This is what happened.
Has had a whirlwind of a week during his return to the White House with mass deportations at the top of his agenda. Meanwhile, those efforts continue to ramp up with the Trump administration reaching an agreement for Colombia to accept flights with deported migrants. Eyewitness News reporter Phil Tate is live outside the Colombian mission in Midtown with the very latest. This started out as a conflict, though, Phil.
It surely did. This was a tariff showdown over the weekend between the U.S. as well as the Colombian government. And this after the Colombian president did not want to receive 2 military planes that had been filled with migrants for illegally entering this country. Now, while an agreement has been made, we do expect a meeting to take place in the coming days. But President Trump had threatened steep tariffs on imports by 25% and other sanctions, and didn't hold back there by saying they would be raised by 50% in just a week. Now, this after the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, blocked 2 U.S. military planes from landing over the weekend.
What did they think was going to happen? For all of these leaders that we see out here in the streets, what's your plan? What's your plan? I know, some of these female leaders, they a little different. They the same as over here inside of the United States of America. Claudia Sheinbaum down there in Mexico, she trying to show force. She trying not to bend the knee. What did y'all think was going to happen? Justin Trudeau over there in Canada, he going to fly over to Mar-a-Lago and think that he going to have a conversation with Trump. Trump told him, hey, man, listen, I know you're the governor of Canada. If y'all want to become the 51st state, let me know. Colombia said, we not going to take your 2. Oh, you're not going to take our 2 planes? Hold on. I know we on the 8th hole. This is a par 5, but give me a second. I got to send out a tweet. Trump said I got to send out a tweet. All right. That should fix it. They said, what'd you do, Prez? Oh, man, listen. Tariffs. Tariff on everybody. That's what I started doing on everybody. I said tariff on everybody. Anybody that don't want to get in line, tariff. My daughter said, Dad, I want to stay home from school today. I said, tariff. Tariffs. I don't want to show up to tariffs. Fix it in 5 minutes. You know what? Give me a second. 25% tariff on everything that come in from Colombia. They said, Prez, you think that go far enough? He said, that's right. We do need the planes to land today, right? He said, yeah, don't worry about it. And 50% next week. Tariffs on everything that come in Colombia. All right. Whose swing is it? Fix that problem right on up. Did more in the last week. Do y'all realize that Trump got sworn in 1 week ago on January 20th? It's the 27th. From Monday to Monday, it's the 27th. In 1 week, we got criminals, rapists, pedos, all of these people is being sent back to their country. Some people are taking voluntary flights. They said, we ain't going to wait for you to embarrass us and put us in the back of a cargo plane. We got rid of DEI, right? We got these countries in order. We started getting things back established. We did more in 7 days than we did in 4 years. That is insane. That, my friends, is absolutely, positively insane. And it's people that still said that they wanted Kamala Harris to become president of the United States of America. I said, Jesus Christ. I seen somebody over the internet, honest to goodness, I seen somebody over the internet this past weekend that said, we need Brandon Johnson to become president of the United States of America. I looked at them, I said, what are y'all smoking? Are y'all smoking crack? What kind of crack is that? Because I'm going to stay far away from it.
Now, Petro had also announced a retaliatory 25% increase on Colombian tariffs on U.S. goods. Now, this avoided clash could have raised consumer costs for the billions of dollars worth of goods that the U.S. imports from Colombia each year, from crude oil, coffee, and bananas. Meantime, targeted ICE operations continue. This weekend in Patterson and Union.
That looked like a white man to me. Looked like a European.
Meantime, targeted ICE operations.
Who was that? I can't tell. I can't profile him. I can see the dad bod. I can see the frizzy hair. He frustrated. He didn't have his shoes ready when ICE came.
Continue this weekend in Patterson and Union City, New Jersey, as well as West New York and Chicago. Immigration officials say just yesterday they'd arrested nearly 1,000 people across the country and counting.
Oh, yeah. He got to go. He definitely got to go. I don't see anything coming good from this guy. I don't see how he's actually contributing into the American economy. You're not going to sit here and convince me that this guy is doing what he's supposed to do every day. That guy right there. I watched, what's the name of it? What's the name of the profiling series? Mindhunters and CSI Los Angeles. CSI Los Angeles. They told me that guy possibly hurt a cat when he was younger, and it transitioned into him doing worse crimes as he got older. No way in the world you're going to sit here and tell me that guy is good for America. Didn't look good, never looked good. They need to have me at the border doing the profiling.
Now, as the raids are underway, Border Czar Tom Homan says a strong message is being sent across the country.
I think if you're in the country legally, it's not okay. It's not okay to violate laws of this country. We have millions of people standing in line, taking the test, doing their background investigation, paying the fees that want to come in the right way.
And here at home, immigration advocates are expected to talk to community members in both New York and New Jersey. That's as these targeted operations are now underway. We're live in Midtown.
Why y'all act like profiling is not a smart thing to do? Profiling is absolutely a smart thing to do. Profiling keeps you safe. Profiling keeps you safe. It's the thing that it's a preventative measure. I seen a woman over the weekend. She says, men don't want to protect women anymore. All they want to do is tell us to shut up. That's a form of protection. Shut your face. You didn't know that? Don't worry about it. We'll get there. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. We gonna get there. We gonna get you together. Dog for Hire says, I can be making a lot of cash right now. Yes, you can, dog. Yes, you can, dog. Talk about it. Vaughn, I appreciate you for the super sticker. You absolutely are awesome. Dion Hendricks says, did you see Al Grifton Sharpton bringing all of those people to shop at Costco to boycott to get DEI rollbacks? I'm going to talk about that later on in the show. So I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to that because I got a segment of the show that dedicates itself to that. Passport Bros look like we going to Brazil. Jesus. Lord have mercy. Solution Trucking Channel says, I just got my MacBook. Question, do you prefer Magic Mouse or the trackpad? I think it's called. And why? I use the pad. I use a trackpad. I actually had a mouse, but I use a trackpad. And usually it's because it's much easier for me to do certain things and Photoshop and stuff like that. So I actually prefer the trackpad. I don't like actually writing anything or cropping things out or doing anything like that. Or in the editing process, it's much quicker for me to actually use a trackpad. So that's what I prefer personally. I don't really care for a mouse. Cynthia Haynes says, wow, Anton, you are literally calling out the drug dealers as well. Love your style, strong black man. I'm on it, baby. Dog for Hire says, time to let the dogs out. My crew and I are ready to go. Where my government contract? Shout out to Fob Brown. Says late entry fee for the Millionaire Morning Show. Tariffs. We throwing tariffs on everybody, Fob Brown. Jeremy Bradford says, Trump is doing him like Robert De Niro did the cowboy when he had his feet on the table in the casino. He did. He came to regret it because that's how he wound up getting himself in food and beverage, but you know, it is what it is. What in the World TV says, nonsense to hear Johnson for president. When I hear that, I say to myself, immigration advocates, crack is still flowing on the streets. A.R. Smitty says, big time had me making sure I'm not Mexican. Y'all don't know if y'all Mexican or not? Don't worry about it. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's keep getting to it. So I want to spend 10, 12 minutes on this because I love Governor Wheelchair. Who's not a fan of Greg Abbott? Who's not a fan of Greg Abbott? I am absolutely positively one of Governor Wheelchair's biggest fans, and he's saying that things have already taken a change at the border and in Texas since Trump took office, and these immigration officials have started locking everything down. Take a look.
Joining me right now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. Governor, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Maria.
Have you seen a change? Tell us what has happened since President Trump was sworn in as our 47th president.
Maria, I don't think there's ever been a more sudden and swift change in any government operation than under President Trump when he took the oath of office. I would say overnight, but on the first hour of his tenure as president, we saw the change where there were military sent to the border. The military were blocking people from crossing the border illegally. The numbers of people who crossed on the 9th.
Hold on. Before we get into Governor Wiltshire, you know, the chat is my co-host for the day. Chris Jones says, maybe it's me. Maybe it's just me. But it seems like they going for the black and brown people. What about the Ukrainians and the Asians and the Chinese? Every time I see you, I'm taking somebody. I've never seen the. I don't really know what that means. Listen, bro. I have no respect to persons. If you're illegal, you have to go. If you're illegal, you have to go. That's it. Y'all always want to make this about black and white. Y'all always want to make this about black and brown. Y'all always want to make this about gay and straight. I don't care who you are and where you from. If you are illegal, you have to go. Fact of the matter is just that. It just is what it is.
18th of January, dropped dramatically on the 20th of January. They have continued to drop, and every single day, President Trump, working with Tom Homan, they've been deporting people to the countries they came from. But to show how Texas is a partner in all this process, on the hour that President Trump took office, Texas was deploying more buoys in the Rio Grande to deter and deny illegal entry into the country. The change, Maria, is this. We suddenly now have a commander-in-chief who cares about national security, who cares about securing the border, who's going to enforce the law. And importantly, he has a governor in a state in Texas that will be a partner with the Trump administration. We will assist in the arrest, the detention, and the deportation of people coming across the border illegally.
And deportations are now well underway. Some have been put on planes. Are they going back to Mexico? Where are you sending them? Give us a sense of the practical process that is happening right now.
So hundreds up to close to 1,000 are being sent back across the border on a daily basis under the Trump administration. Some are going to Mexico. Others, you will see flights that are going to Guatemala and some other Central American countries. And the Trump administration is going to be sending them back to their home countries and demanding compliance by these countries that they take back the people who have crossed the border illegally. And know this, and that is right now, I would say there's two categories of people that the Trump administration is sending back. One, they're trying to go after those who are public safety threats, who are criminals, as well as national security threats. Remember, under Joe Biden, they allowed into the United States people who were on the terrorist watch list.
That is so crazy to me. That is so crazy to me that the Biden administration. Would y'all say that the Biden administration is the worst president of all time? I like Governor Hot Wheels too. I like Professor X. Would y'all say that the Biden administration is the worst administration of all time? If y'all had to rank them. Because why would you let over convicted felons, illegal like criminals? It's bad enough that we had our borders open, but they was just letting anybody in. They didn't care. I remember at the Democratic National Convention, they were saying, you know, the pundits were saying, oh, he's going to go down as one of the most accomplished politicians of all time. He's had 50 years in office. Y'all really love Joe, huh? Because that was what they was chanting. We love you, Joe. They had their signs. We love you, Joe. We love you, Joe. Is he going down as one of the worst politicians of all time?
And the Trump administration is seeking out and trying to find them and deport them. And then the other that they're sending back is that, listen, those people who think they can cross the border
and stay here in the country illegally now, those days are gone. If anybody apprehended coming across the border is going to be sent back immediately.
Isn't it unbelievable? Texas is now a partner to the federal government as opposed to being an enemy, which certainly is what it looked like under the Biden team. But let me get your take on this 300,000 children that were lost under the Biden-Harris administration. Fox News reported this week, Harris Faulkner reported that the Trump team has now located some of those children.
So listen, it's almost criminal what Joe Biden did, allowing all these children to come in and then losing them, putting those children at risk.
Crazy.
Who knows how many of those children were child sex trafficked or harmed in some other way. And you got to hand it to the Trump administration for quickly locating them, identifying them, and work to ensure that their safety. And here again, it's a night and day difference between the Trump administration.
So do y'all have sympathy for them? Because I remember earlier in the show, y'all was talking about sympathy for the illegal migrants that was over here. But do y'all have sympathy for them? What happened to the children that they was incentivizing to have over here and that was getting trafficked and that they lost track of? Do y'all have sympathy for them? Should they have even been on this path and this journey to be over here in the first place? How many children have been taken advantage of? How many young people, how many women have been taken advantage of trying to cross over here to the United States of America? Jeez. Somebody said that it was all about the coins. For who? Biden is like 9 million years old. How many more coins can you really get? The older I get, the less I care about my coins. You know why? Because I realize that it's meant to be made and meant to be spent at the same time. A lot of people, it's funny because people will say to me, I'll go and buy a watch or I'll go and buy a car because they don't really understand the value of timepieces and things like that. And or, they'll say, oh man, I can't believe you bought that car. You should have put it in an index fund or you should have did this. And I be thinking to myself, how much more money do I have to put up? Or do I just keep doing it for the rest of my life and I can't enjoy my resources either? Biden was like 1 million years old. How much more coin can you take advantage of? How much more money, how much more finessing can you do? When people get older, right? Think about this for a minute. When people get older, they try to come to terms with what their life is, right? They want to get right with God. That's why you see this is why you see people often at times going into the church, right? This is why you see them become deacon master splinter, right? Deacon Jones was a deacon demon back in the day. Mama Mary was for the streets back in the day. She was doing some wild things. But do you know why they dedicate themselves to God with such fervency? Is because as they get older, they want to increase in their mind their chances to ultimately become saints. They want to make it into heaven. And so that's why they such hard servants. See, I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to tell you the absolute positive truth. When people get older, they're trying to come to terms with the things that they did when they was younger. And so because they didn't live their life for God the way that they think that they should have, or they wish they would have back when they was younger, as they get older, when God can't really use them anymore, that's why they so fervent and they so dedicated to the pastor. And they're trying to show God that they're obedient because their best years are behind them. And so in order to increase their chances that they don't bust hell wide open, right? They got to serve hard. And so you start to come to terms. You start not to care a little bit more. When you've been living your life so egregious for so long, you start not to care a little bit more. And so when you think about Biden being a 50-year politician and Hunter Biden and all of these different things, and the fact that, his son and all of this stuff, right? And then you say, man, look at all of the evil things that they did while he was in office over the last 4 years. You just got to think that either you just a real life demon. He got to be a real life demon. The Biden administration. You got to be a real life demon to be all the way at your big old age and still saying, you know what, I'm going to burn this place to the ground. That's demon behavior. That's a deranged mind. That's a reprobate mind. That is a person that is dedicated to die on a deathbed, and because they became a politician instead of just being a regular citizen, we can't really hold them accountable anymore. That is a demon, honest to God. Because if you're not trying to atone and make sure that you do things right, but you just set in your ways and you still determined to burn things to the ground, you're not going to convince me that you're doing it for money. It ain't enough money that you can make that's going to ever prevent you from, you're not going to have no different of a lifestyle. You got Secret Service for the rest of your life. You pardon your son. He been doing cocaine off of women's booties. Ain't nothing you can buy. You probably can't even get it up anymore. Ain't nothing you can do. It's nothing you can buy. What coin? See, the problem with y'all is that y'all can't really put in perspective who these people really are because you're equating it to what your values are. Your values are in money. You in your life is thinking, man, if I just had $10,000 more dollars, 100,000, you know what I would do with that? Crash out. Crash out. First, go get you a Charger Hellcat, red eye. Spend the rest of it at the strip club. You ain't thinking about catching up on your child support? You ain't catching up on no child support? Child support? I got this under the table. They don't even know I got this money. You ain't catching up on no child support. You're not helping the homeless. I hate to see when people say that dumb junk online. Oh, yeah. You know what? If I had all of that money, I would be a pillar in my community. Boy, you wouldn't come back to the hood if your life depended on it. You're not doing that. People that tell me what they would do versus what they do is a whole nother ball. I would be there for my family. Your family wouldn't even know you. You would crash out. You would go and get you some coke, try to flip that immediately. You looking at it from your lens. You're not looking at it from the lens of a Joe. You ain't looking at it from the lens of Joe. What you think that, y'all keep talking about Nancy Pelosi's stock trades. Have y'all seen what Nancy Pelosi look like? Do y'all know how big of an age she at? Y'all know how old Nancy? Let me look at Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. Age. Nancy Pelosi was born in 1940. Nancy Pelosi was born in 1940. Nancy Pelosi is 84 years old. She will be 85 March 26, 1940. Do you think that Nancy Pelosi give a flying F about what trades to make for her portfolio going forward? Think about it for a minute. Start to tap out and think about what lens we looking at this through. You not talking to nobody that's 44, 34, 54, 24. You're talking to somebody that's 84 years old. Maybe got a good 6 or 7 years ahead of them and more money than they'll ever be able to spend in their entire life. Why do you think that they do some of the things that they do? Why do you think that they do some of the things that they do? They don't do it for the same reasons that you do it. And the minute that you realize that, you'll stop looking at them the same way. You'll stop supporting them. You'll stop voting for them. They don't think from the same lens as you.
Administration and the Biden administration, we now have a commander-in-chief in office who's going to ensure the safety of people in the country, whether it be these young kids who are trafficked into our country or everyday Americans and communities that are having to deal with the consequences of Joe Biden's open border policies.
What about those Venezuelan gangs, Tren de Aragua, that was causing such havoc? Do you believe, Governor, that we will see a change in crime? The attacks that we're seeing across the country in places like big cities like New York, do you believe in the coming months that will move the needle as a result of what you all are doing in Texas?
So it's actually already begun. So what we did in Texas, I signed a law and then implemented the law declaring Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization. And for the past year, Texas has been working with federal, state, and local authorities to arrest and jail Trinidad and Tobago members here in the state of Texas. What Trump will do is apply that same strategy. He's already either done it or said he's going to do it, declare Trinidad and Tobago as a foreign terrorist organization under the federal law, which is even more powerful. And what Trump wants to do is to go after organizations like that, which is the largest, most deadly and consequential foreign terrorist organization, and make sure that we put them out of business. And the way we put them out of business is to put them behind bars.
Well, we're all.
Shout out to Governor Wheelchair. We love him. We appreciate him. I personally think over the last 4 years, he quite possibly could have been the best governor in the United States of America. I think that Governor Wheelchair is incredible. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and continue on with the show. I told y'all we was going to have a fire show today, didn't y'all? I told y'all. Elim is in the building. Elim says, is there an app to speed up the process of getting the people out of there? I don't care, I'm telling, because there's no jobs for students. I'ma tell. Yep, just call ICE. When you spot them, call them, and call it what it is. Kung Fu Hustler says Greg Abbott was the real president during 2023. Man, I wish. A-Man01 says, yo, AD, the chat is wild. The chat is always wild. That's why it's my co-host. Phoenix Blaze says, the majority of the Biden administration have proven to be treasonous lunatics. No more weirdos in the White House. Yeah, we done with that. We done with that. Black Man Stand Up, AD is preaching, says Untouchable City Prepper. I am Annie Marie. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kung Fu Hustler says somebody was using Biden. They had dirt on him and he didn't want to go to prison. Nah, you can't be that short-sighted. Full Metal says the ones getting the coins were nonprofits by taking the aid money they gave for the designed. I'm thinking that you're thinking designated, design, disaster, name the border crisis. Molly in the building. Shout out to my girl, Molly. I appreciate you, Molly. Thank you, thank you, thank you, baby. Y'all can catch Molly on, Molly, are you going to be on the show tonight? You know, Q be running that show on Monday nights. Make sure y'all tune in to Monday nights. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I don't even know what we're going to talk about tonight. Q's still getting that together. Maybe. Anyways, let's continue on with the show. I want to deep dive into JD Vance. All right. JD Vance recently pulled up on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, and he had a little bit of an exchange back and forth. It turned into a debate. I thought it was supposed to be an interview, but apparently it turned into a debate. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock. I'm going to read that super chat shortly.
Pete Hegseth, it was a tie. Bipartisan opposition, smallest margin since the job was created. You had to break that tie. If the nominee can't unite your party, how's he going to lead 3 million people?
Well, look, I think Pete is a disruptor.
Ooh, leading with hostility, are we, Margaret? Let's slow down. Okay?
And a lot of people don't like that disruption, but Margaret, that disruption is incredibly necessary. If you think about all of those bipartisan massive votes, we have to ask ourselves, what did they get us? They got us a country where we fought many wars over the last 40 years, but haven't won a war about as long as I've been alive. They've got us a military with a major recruitment crisis, a procurement price crisis that's totally dysfunctional, where we buy airplanes for billions and billions of dollars, terrible cost overruns, the delivery dates are always delayed. So we need a big change. Now, admittedly, there are people who don't like that big change, but it is necessary, and it's explicitly what Donald J. Trump ran on. And I think part of the reason why the American people elected him their 47th president.
First of all, J.D. Vance is still pulling up on the ops, and meeting them with don't matter how many questions they are, don't matter what the questions are, still meeting them the same way that they was doing during the campaign season. But also on top of that, I want to remind people of something. And this is why we hold Kamala Harris accountable the way that we held her accountable, is that J.D. Vance already has made some tie-breaking votes. Kamala Harris, if I'm not mistaken, made more tie-breaking votes than any vice president in history. Why? Because the vice president is the president of the Senate. When you're gridlocked in the Senate and you need somebody to push something through, who do you call? The vice president. The vice president, because a lot of people say, oh, they just be around, they just be looking pretty and all of this stuff. No, the vice president is the president of the Senate. And so they are the ones that cast the tie-breaking votes to then push through legislation and make sure that things get done. Okay? So that's a little civics lessons for you. The vice president is not just there in order to pretend to be the border czar like Kamala Harris did. They push through legislation, they advocate, they beat that whip, they get out there in them streets. And in the Kamala Harris case, she was out there advocating for the alphabet community over in African countries and in Ghana instead of taking care of business here in the United States of America. But I'm going to learn you today.
So the main objective is changing all of that, that it's going to be Pete Hegseth alone?
I'd say the main problem the main thing that we want Pete Hegseth to do is to fix the problems at the Department of Defense. And unfortunately, there are many. We've gotten into way too many wars that we don't have a plan for winning. We've gotten into way too many misadventures that we shouldn't have got into in the very first place. And our procurement process, Margaret, is incredibly broken. We're in an era.
Decisions.
Well, of course, they're policy decisions, but they're also logistical and implementation decisions. If you look at where we are with the rise of artificial intelligence, with the rise of drone
we're gonna talk about
technology
that today,
and drone
too.
warfare, we have to really, top to bottom, change the way that we fund the procurement of weapons, the way that we arm our troops. This is a major period of disruption, and we think Pete Hegseth is the guy to lead the job. Now, there's another element to this, Margaret, too, which is we believe that military morale, at least until the election of President Trump, was historically low. You had the Army missing recruitment goals by tens of thousands of soldiers, and already recruitment is starting to pick up because Pete Hegseth is fundamentally a warfighter's leader at the Department of Defense. He is a guy who sees not through the perspective of the generals or the bureaucrats. He looks at things through the perspective of the men and women that we send off to fight in our wars.
Both the Wall Street Journal and the National
J.D. Vance is so
conservative
sharp.
publications, as you know, have been critical of Tulsi Gabbard. The review called her an atrocious nominee who deserves to be defeated. They compared her defense of Edward Snowden, the fugitive who stole U.S. secrets, to an attorney general who thinks the mob gets a bad rap. Her refusal to accept U.S. intelligence findings that Assad gassed his own people, they said, was like a nominee for OMB director not being able to count. Does any of this give you pause putting her in charge of the U.S. intelligence community? Yes or no?
No, Margaret, look, these are publications that attacked Donald J. Trump obsessively, but those publications don't determine who the president is, the
And
American
ultimately
people
supported
do.
him.
And Donald J. Trump is the person who determines who his cabinet is, not these publications that I think, frankly, have lost relevance.
The Senate will
Tulsi
ultimately
Gabbard's.
decide.
Well, the Senate will provide advice and consent, as is its constitutional obligation, but I feel confident that Tulsi Gabbard will ultimately get through. Two things that are important to know about Tulsi. First of all, she is a career military servant who's had a classification at the highest levels for nearly 2 decades. She has impeccable character, impeccable record of service, and she also is a person who I think is going to bring some trust back to the intelligence services. The bureaucrats at our intelligence services have gotten completely out of control. They've been part of the weaponization of our political system, the weaponization of our justice system. We need to have good intelligence services who keep us safe. But part of that is restoring trust in those services, and we think Tulsi is the right person to do it. That's
She
why
doesn't
the
trust
president.
those intelligence services.
She recognizes that the bureaucrats have gotten out of control, and we need somebody there who's going to rein them in and return those services to their core mission of identifying information that's going to keep us safe.
Absolutely. I 100% love Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is the person that ended Kamala Harris's campaign in 2019, only to have Biden pick her up and save her. I'ma save you, Kamala. And then y'all got diversity, equity, and inclusion inside of the White House. And y'all live to regret it. Y'all got diversity, equity, and inclusion inside of the White House, and you lived to regret it. I'll take Tulsi Gabbard as a leader of the intelligence community, a person that serves this country and obviously can communicate her thoughts very clearly, over Kamala Harris inside of the White House as the Vice President of the United States of America and the President of the Senate any day of the week.
Campaigned on lowering prices for consumers. We've seen all of these executive orders.
Yeah, exactly, Kenny P. I said the same thing. But I thought the Democrats was all for Tulsi prior to her joining Trump. Yeah, they was rocking with her. They was rocking with her because she was a Democrat, but it wasn't until she switched over into becoming a Republican because she was smart and she understood that American values more closely line with what Trump was saying versus what the extreme left had become. Because I say this all the time. The party of your parents are no longer here. The Democrats of the 80s and the 90s and what they stood for, even though it was still the Democratic plantation, it was nowhere near extreme as it is now. And so when she said, you know what, my values more or less align with where the Republicans are going, then all of a sudden she became a threat to national security. Okay.
Which one lowers prices?
We have done a lot, and there have been a number of executive orders that have caused already jobs to start coming back into our country, which is a core part of lowering prices. More capital investment, more job creation in our economy is one of the things that's going to drive down prices for all consumers, but also raise wages so that people can afford to buy the things that they need.
Thanks.
If you look at our slate of
come
executive orders, no, Margaret, prices are going to come down, but it's going to take a little bit of time, right? The president has been president for all of 5 days.
Right.
I think that in those 5 days, he's accomplished more than Joe Biden did in 4 years. It's
Facts.
been an incredible breakneck pace of activity. We're going to work with Congress. We're, of course, going to have more executive orders, and we're going to try, the way that you lower prices is that you encourage more capital investment into our country. And you ask specifically, what executive order is going to help lower prices? All of the stuff that we've done on energy to explore more energy reserves, to develop more energy resources in the United States of America. One of the main drivers of increased prices under the Biden administration is that we had a massive increase in energy prices.
Yep.
Donald Trump has already taken multiple executive actions that are going to lower energy prices. And I do believe that means consumers are going to see lower prices at the pump and at the grocery store, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
And while we've done a whole lot, we can't undo all of the damage of Joe Biden's presidency in 4 days.
Well, there are a lot of things that contributed to higher energy prices, and there was record oil and gas production.
Yes, Joe Biden did many terrible things to lead to an
see,
increase in prices. I agree, Margaret.
No, but all the things you experience at the grocery store are what people touch and feel. That's what you were talking about, bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course, of course.
Those things, when do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel's way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive. How do we grow the bacon? Our farmers need energy to produce it. So if we lower energy prices, we are going to see lower prices for consumers, and that is what we're trying to fight for.
Well,
Handle it
the flurry
in,
of executive
JD.
orders, most of them weren't about the economy. Many of them.
He's getting better. He's even better than he was on the campaign trail. He's still getting good. He's still getting better.
More though, Margaret. We had, I think we've
a
taken
promise
over
of tariffs by February 1st.
We've taken over 200 executive actions, some executive orders,
220 to be
other
exact.
executive actions. Again, this is in less than a week, and a lot of them were focused on the economy, bringing investment into our country and lowering energy prices. We've also focused on safety, restoring public safety, ending weaponization of the Department of Justice. We've done a lot, and I think the president is to be.
Christopher Chapman says, I don't know about that, AD. Do companies really pass savings down to the consumers? They absolutely do. You want one example of it? The grocery store. All right. What is the biggest grocer inside of the United States of America? Many people don't know this, but Walmart sells more than 25% of every grocery to Americans and consumers. One of the things consumers worried about and they complained about was that Walmart was actually passing savings, too many savings over to consumers. And what it did was it killed small business. It killed other grocery stores. It killed mom and pop spots. Same thing with Amazon, so on and so forth. But they had to increase prices because they could not absorb that many losses and then be able to subsidize it with whatever it is that they had going on in other parts of the company. That's why you then seen them be able to survive during a lot of these transitions, whereas other companies weren't. Walmart isn't really a grocer. They actually pass almost 100% of their savings over to the consumer in hopes that you buy other things from Walmart. That's what we call a loss leader. Amazon is the same way. Amazon was not making a profit in its bookstore or Amazon.com. As a matter of fact, when you look at the amount that they do in revenue versus what it is that they generate, you will then realize that they don't make any money on that side. That is more or less about data and logistics, whereas Amazon Web Services is the powering aspect of that business that then generates the majority of the revenue. If you look at Kroger's, and they were trying to merge just about a month or two ago, and that merger was turned down. And if y'all join Stock Club, you would be able to know this. Tap into Stock Club. We have Stock Club. We got the live stream going on tomorrow. I'm going to drop that today, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat for y'all to be able to jump into Stock Club right after the show that we do tomorrow. If you join Stock Club, you will realize I break down all of these numbers company by company, along with telling y'all the 8 things that we look for in order to invest in a company. Grocery stores are notorious, which made Kamala Harris's rhetoric on the campaign trail as far as limiting the amount of money that grocery stores charge. They are notorious for having very, 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 very low margins on their products. They have a lot of debt. They have to generate a lot of revenue. They got to do over $100 billion in sales to get $1.5 billion in profit. Over $100 billion in sales to get over $1 to $2 billion in profit. Do you know what generates the most revenue as far as margins? Margins meaning the amount that you make in profit per product. So if I sell it for $1, I really get to keep 10 cents of it. Do you know what the greatest profit generator inside of grocery is? Perishables. Yogurt, milk, cheese, things like that. Which means that they also have to make sure that they combat theft. They were affected over there on the West Coast. And they also have to prevent shrink, meaning the amount of products that they got to throw away or just walk out the store somehow. So when we talk about passing prices and savings on to the consumers, JD Vance is right. The majority of the cost is getting the product in the store. It's the logistics, it's shipping it in, it's the ports. We talked about the ports all last year and the strike that was happening all leading up to Trump's presidency. It's everything. Everything outside of grocery. It's the pay of the employees, which you'll then see Democrats say, oh, we need everybody to make $27 an hour and have a livable wage. It's the stores, it's the rent, it's the logistics, it's the shrink, it's all of these different mandates and permitting and red tape that they have to deal with in order to even be open. And right now they're trying to survive. Most businesses are trying to survive. Let's continue.
Commended for actually coming in and doing something with this incredible mandate the American people gave him. He's not sitting in the Oval Office doing nothing. He's doing the American people's business, and I think they're going to see a lot of good effects from it.
Shout out to Dev.
A lot of these announcements.
And make sure, hold on, wait. Before we continue, I know that y'all be forgetting to hit a like for the algorithm. That's cool. I know you're going to do it before you head out today. But I will encourage you guys, this is the greatest morning show on earth. So I want to tell y'all to do 3 things. The first thing I want y'all to do is make sure y'all subscribe to the channel if you've been here more than once. That way you get notifications that we go on live every single Monday through Friday. We never miss. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you send this to your family and friends, at least 3 people, because we don't want to be successful by ourselves, and we have the greatest show on earth. The third thing that I want you guys to do is to make sure that you tab into the Patreon, because that's where we really start breaking things down and we get to the money. We got Stock Club coming up tomorrow that will be dropping inside of the Patreon today. Let's continue.
Have yet to take effect.
Sure.
The president did say he wants to do something with an executive order in relation to federal emergency response. He said he may reform or eliminate FEMA. Instead of sending emergency responders, he may start to send a percentage of money to states to take care of themselves. But, you know, FEMA has specialized expertise that some of these states just don't have in their arsenal. And
I wish
how
that they...
will states who are lower income states, the Mississippis, the Kentuckys, the Alabamas, be able to do this for themselves without federal help?
Well, the president, to be clear, is not saying we're going to leave anybody behind. He's saying that in the way that we administer these resources, some of which is coming from the federal level, some of which is coming from the state level, we've got to get the bureaucrats out of the way and get the aid to the people who need it most.
But these
Let's
are the
be
first
honest,
responders.
Margaret, you talk about the expertise from FEMA. FEMA in North Carolina, in California, in Florida with some of the hurricanes has often been a disaster. And it's not because we don't have good people at FEMA. It's because bureaucratic red tape and garbage prevents the rapid deployment of resources to the people who need it most.
Shout out to Dynamite.
Do this
Welcome.
themselves?
The president is trying to encourage us to reform the way that we deliver emergency response in a way that gets resources.
Guys,
So don't take
you
it
don't want to
literally,
throw nobody under
is what you're saying.
We should take the president at his
don't want to throw
word that
anybody under
FEMA
the
needs
bus.
desperate reform, because it does. Margaret, when I went to North Carolina as VP-elect, but before we were sworn in, people would talk about how FEMA would get resources, food, medicine, water to a warehouse, but then would have no plan to get it from the warehouse to the people in the mountains who were literally starving and thirsting to death. We can do so much better, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we will.
But they work with the state and local officials.
They often don't work
now
well
it's
enough. And again, that's
going
not
to be on
because
the state
of
and local officials?
No, the FEMA management officials don't work well enough with the state and local officials to get resources to the people who need it. We should expect, and this is, I think, one of the fundamental premises of President Trump's leadership, the American people should expect more of their government. When there's a terrible disaster, they should expect food, medicine, and water to get to the people who need it. When there's a terrible fire in California, the fire hydrants ought to actually turn on. I am sick of the American people having such low expectations for their government. They should demand more of us because this is the greatest country in the world, and that's what Donald Trump's leadership promises to bring back.
So still count on the federal government, but watch that space. Let me ask you about another area.
I can't stand combative people. It aggravates me. It burns me to my soul. It shows the ignorance, and it shows that they never came into it with the right intentions in the first place. They're not there to ask the questions and get the answers. They're there to push an agenda, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of these places and a lot of these companies are starting to go under.
Yeah, that you campaigned on quite a lot, and there was a flurry of activity on, and that has to do with immigration.
Sure.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders
We don't
signed
care
by President Trump,
about a bunch
specifically
of them that have been touching on kids, getting all of their lawsuits out. We don't care about what they think.
Allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line?
When they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they really concerned about whether or not these people are being deported, or are they concerned about their bottom line? And this is why we need people to just tell it like it is. No more hiding the truth. No more covering it up. No more pretending and playing politics. This is why we need to drain the swamp in every space. This is one of the reasons why Brandon Johnson kept referring to the archdiocese. And I'm going to consult with the archdiocese, and we're going to make sure that we get the proper services and we expedite the process, and that the community is served. One thing that we won't do is that we're never going to leave an illegal migrant behind. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. You know, this administration has been something of a kerfuffle to work with. But the one thing that we're not going to do is we're not going to let the archdiocese down, and we're going to make sure that every single child, no matter how many that they are, no matter what the cost is, no matter how bad our credit rating gets here in Chicago, me, Brandon Johnson, Mayor of Chicago. I'm sorry. Let me finish my statement. You asked your question. Do you want to hear my answer? Do you want to hear my answer? Because we could just walk out of here right now. We could just walk out of here right now. We don't have to continue to have this conference, or you can let me finish my full statement. Because earlier in this year, you referred to young black people as terrorists because they were stomping on cars in the middle of the night and tearing people up and pulling them out of their cars and beating them in the head with bats. That they weren't there. Excuse me. They were not terrorists. That was a large gathering. Okay? So if you're going to be obtuse, if you're not going to let me finish, if you insist on trying to lead with violence instead of leading with a solution, that is the only thing we care about in Chicago? Okay? So I'm going to end that question right now. That's what we get. That's why they concerned. It all comes back down to the money. That's what it is. When you talk about the church, when you talk about the politicians, when you talk about all of these people, it all comes back down to the money. It is not about illegal migrants. It is not that they care anything about you. It is not that they advocating for you. They don't care anything about you. The church, the convening of the bishops, all of these people are there for the money. Okay? I don't care if you're Brandon Johnson. I don't care if you're Eric Adams. You know, the Biden administration, he told me, he said, Eric, be a good Democrat. You know, when I met with Trump, when I met with Tom Homan, I don't care if you're Eric Adams. I don't care if you're Karen Bass. Oh, yes, Mr. President. I don't care who you are. The fact of the matter is, this is the reason why we named this the Millionaire Morning Show. It's all going to come back down to the money.
We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support them
about
going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley
churches.
who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe. Let me ask this question, Margaret. Let's separate the immigration issue. If you had a violent murderer in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point of the question?
You changed the regulation this week. That's the point of the question.
Exactly.
Giving the authority to go into churches and go into schools.
We empowered law enforcement to enforce
but
the
that
law
also
everywhere
has
to
a
protect
knock-on
Americans.
Effect. A chilling.
Shout out to JD Vance, holding it down, not getting himself involved with these women that want to be combative. Let me go ahead and read some of these super chats. Don't worry about my voices. Don't worry about my voices. I've been paying attention to politics, politicians, how people talk, how they act. I don't know. God blessed me with a little bit of a talent, I guess. Maybe it was just a voice talent. Jack A. Whiskey and Pinto Bean says, God forgives all sin. You have to accept Jesus as your Savior. Y'all want me to preach today? Because I don't know if y'all really want to know the truth about this. I'm going to just say thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you, my friend, because that is not true. A.R. Smitty says, JD said, do you know who I am, lady? I want all the smoke. Lil Black Duck 2001 says, actually, they switched up on Tulsi when she chose to back Bernie over Hillary in 2016. She wasn't even the vice chair of the DNC up to mid-2015. Just being honest is in the building, says Anton. I want to say, I'm as proud as ever to be an American. And I like that you said that. Trump has been an amazing. And it's only a week. And I'm sorry, what he did to Colombia made me laugh, showing strength and power. It made me, we all was cracking up. Roy Rodriguez says, I like your work. Jerry, this is my online baby mama, This is my online baby mama. Don't nobody come at Jerry because it's my baby. Just saying hi, and MAGA is back. Shout out to my girl, Jerry. Andreas Robinson says, Black people are still looking for leaders. What in the World TV says, headphones in at work laughing out loud. Everybody know. Listen, the one thing that I can guarantee you over here at the Millionaire Morning Show, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to learn a lot. But I can't guarantee that you're not going to get in trouble if you're laughing too hard. So make sure you keep me up inside of the church. I do not curse on the Millionaire Morning Show. My daughter going to try to hold me accountable this weekend. No, it wasn't my daughter. It was Rita. She said, Anton, you curse a lot now. You know, I said, who the f you talking to? Get your black A over here so I can. Anton, you curse a lot now. What is going on? So who the f you talking to? Get your black A over here so I can deal with you. But I'm working on it. You see how I'm able to figure it out. I'm working on it. Y'all ain't seen me cursing on the Millionaire Morning Show except on Fridays and Saturdays. Anyways, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. We got more that we need to talk about. We need to deal with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I don't curse at all, Eric D. At all. My black queens, sisters, my sisters said that we is tired, and until you do right by me, nothing good is ever gonna happen to you. So they all then figured out all of the different companies that they want to boycott. They want to boycott Target. They don't want to boycott Target when Target was putting in all of these sassy clothes for your son to go and wear. When Target was putting panties in the boys' aisle for y'all to wear, you didn't want to boycott Target. But now you want to show up when they say no more diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to go on a merit-based system. We're going to go on a merit-based system. When they said that you actually had to earn your spot, you said, they pulled out all of their chakras. They put out their sun signs. I'm a Gemini with an Aquarius moon rising. They pulled out all of their love languages, all of their prayers. They did it all. They pulled out every single talking point. They called Target a narcissist. They said that Target was no longer a high-value man or a high-value store. They put out every internet talking point, and they said, we boycotting Target, we boycotting Walmart, we boycotting Amazon, we boycotting everything. I wanted to go and see for myself, so I went over to Walmart and I seen what was going on, and it looked like it was a ton of black people in there. It didn't look like the memo got out to everybody, but let me show you what the sentiment is online. This is what they saying that they doing, all right?
We have more breaking news. Target announcing it is rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the company. In a memo to employees, the Minneapolis-based company says it will end its 3-year DEI goals, stop reports to external diversity-focused groups, and end a program focused on carrying more products from black or minority-owned businesses. The decision follows President Trump's executive orders almost immediately after his inauguration to end the government's DEI programs. NBC's Brian Chung joining us now with that. Brian, this is a pretty significant change of direction for Target, right? Walk us through the company's history with DEI and suddenly a turnaround?
Yeah, Tom, as you outlined there, Target rolling back a number of their DEI policies in an announcement today. And in a memo that a chief executive officer in the high ranks of Target sending to employees today, they described the reason for making these DEI changes as, quote, the result of the evolving external landscape. And you can imagine what that external landscape entails. It is, of course, the new president wanting to roll back DEI within the federal government and a lot of these mounting challenges against other companies that we've seen in the last few months with regards to their DEI policies. But I want to point out, this is a pretty remarkable turn for a company, Target, that is based in Minneapolis. As you recall, that is the city where George Floyd was murdered in 2020. And Target at the time was one of the first companies to really go out and in a full-throated manner defend their efforts to try to boost DEI policies. At the time, CEO Brian Cornell saying, quote, that could have been one of my Target team members. And then now here you have this announcement today, Tom, that they're rolling back those policies. It really does speak to the environment that we're in today.
Can you drill down on that? Because we have seen several companies kind of reversing course here, right? Are they reading the tea leaves for the culture nationwide, the pop culture or Main Street USA, or are they responding to pressure from President Trump?
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily...
So, wait. So, pressure from the culture. If the majority of Americans voted for Trump, both in a popular election and in an electoral college, shouldn't the tea leaves read that people actually want to go back to traditional values and they just want to shop at regular stores without all of the extras in it? I mean, listen, every single time. I remember I was walking down the Jet Bridge, right? I was walking down the Jet Bridge and I seen, if anybody has ever, tell me if I'm lying, all right? If anybody has ever seen this, y'all let me know. I was walking down the Jet Bridge at Delta and they got these little posters that be on the side of the wall before you get on the plane. And they don't have them anymore. I don't know where they went. It looked like they got rid of all of them, or maybe they just in Portland and Seattle. I don't know. But if you walking down the Jet Bridge, sometimes you'll see these signs and it'll be like, it'll have some slogan. Rest starts here in first class. Nominated best airline of the world. And all of these things. 5-star treatment and a fuselage, right? But I remember I was walking down and I seen two guys, one laying his head on the other one's lap. And I was like, They are trying to appeal to a different demographic, apparently, than I'm used to. I started seeing sassy posters from Delta. And I always try to wonder to myself, what is the purpose of this, right? Because me as a person that spends an egregious amount of money every single year to become diamond status at Delta, why are they trying to segment the customers, right? Why isn't the marketing department smart enough to understand that you're not going to get better flyers by having some guy's head on somebody else's lap saying, meet me at the altar or some crap like that? You know what I'm saying? Hey, see, I see people in the chat that has actually experienced that also going down the Jet Bridge and Delta. And so I'm always trying to understand for the life of me, why do companies alienate themselves by taking any position whatsoever when these are publicly traded companies? And I want y'all to take that into consideration when y'all thinking about boycotting anything. See, I care about the bottom line. Me personally, I want, if I am a shareholder of a company, because y'all talking like y'all own these companies. Y'all be talking like y'all actually got equity into the company. If you want equity and inclusion, it is a publicly traded company. You can go on any kind of application whatsoever. Most trades are free and you can buy into the company and you can vote as a shareholder of what you think makes the most sense when it comes to, and if you actually invest enough money and y'all really want to come collectively, because I see a lot of people in the chat a lot of times and they say, Anton, why don't black people come together and build their own companies? You don't have to. You can take your collective dollars that you would usually either throw at the strip club or go and get the latest chain, and you can become a shareholder. And if you got enough equity into the company, you actually can get a board seat. You don't even have to build your own from scratch. You can take over a company that already exists. Walmart, publicly traded company. Ford Motor Company, publicly traded company. There is no limit to the amount of ownership that you can have and then benefit from whatever profit that comes with it if it is a great company for you to own. We don't have to sit here and go back and forth about it. Just own it. But you know why nobody cares about what you think just because you're talking online? Is because your little consumer dollars was already going to Temu anyway. Everything you buying at the store is on Afterpay. Everything you buying in the store is on Afterpay. They was only doing it because it was a mandate to do it. They had to have so many percentage, and y'all don't even want to see nobody else in y'all section. You got to go to the black section. Well, where's the Hispanic section? Or where's the Asian section? And where's the white people section? Do white people get a section? No, white people already have all of this country anyway. They don't need no more sections. Okay, I got you. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to get there.
Directly a function of President Trump. You could argue that a lot of these pressures have actually been coming from the corporate sector and a lot of kind of activist groups, even in the months leading up to the election. But when you look at names like Harley Davidson, names like Walmart, names like McDonald's, these are companies that have pared back their DEI policies. But I want to point out it's not the case at every company. Just yesterday, Costco had a shareholder vote where they voted down a proposal to pare back their policies. And Tom, that vote was 98% against changing and rolling back their policies.
So on the flip side of the spectrum, Costco is saying that they're going to keep their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, and they're being championed by the identity politic people for doing so. Check it out.
It is Saturday. A lot of people doing their shopping, some of them specifically choosing Costco after other companies ditched their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Our Brittany Miller spoke to shoppers today in Harlem.
This wasn't your average trip to the grocery store. Every purchase had a purpose.
We're going to shop where we're wanted.
Okay,
100 members of the National Action
Network.
Network.
He is. There he is. Hold on. Let me get him on there again.
We're going to shop where we're wanted.
Race hustler, baller, gangster, cat pillar. Who I be? Your neighborhood drug dealer. A young, that's about it. I mean, these no limit soldiers, they get rowdy. Captain Big Head. Al Sharpton himself in the flesh with their bullhorns right after he got $500,000 from the Kamala Harris campaign of y'all money that y'all donated into her campaign, and then there was $20 million in a hole. There he is, being a champion of Costco, walking down the aisles, advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and supporting the places that support them. Let's continue to take a look.
100 members of the National Action Network joined Reverend Al Sharpton to shop at Costco in support of the company's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Shareholders recently voted against a proposal to assess the risks.
This is not a boycott. This is a boycott, where we are buying into companies that are supporting DEI measures.
This comes days after President Donald Trump signed an executive order to get rid of DEI programs. Related documents on websites like the U.S. Office of Personnel Management are gone. An HBCU conference at Rutgers University, funded by the Department of Labor, was canceled. The president has also called for all federal DEI staff to be put on paid leave and eventually laid off.
DEI started to gain traction after the killing of George Floyd.
How long y'all gonna get hustled by these race baiters?
Corporations came forward and said, we're going to do diversity. We're going to do this because race needs to be dealt with.
Recently, Amazon, Walmart, McDonald's, and Meta have all rolled back their policies. The latest company to ditch DEI is Target.
I think many of them are realizing that these DEI programs were unfair. We find out when it's actually implemented, it's more like discrimination.
That's not true at all.
DEI programs basically prevent us from going backwards to a time when white supremacy and white straight men ruled the law of the land.
I keep telling y'all, they hate y'all. When I said the other day that white men were under duress and they were some of the most hated people inside of the United States of America, y'all laughed at me and said that I was wrong. Y'all laughed at me and said that I was wrong. They don't like y'all. They don't like men. They don't like white men. They don't like the people that helped build this country. They don't like masculinity. They don't like anything except for if it agrees with them at that time. They don't. Let me revise that. It's not that they don't like y'all. They hate y'all. They hate you. They hate every single thing about you. When you sitting over there caping for them and saying, yeah, we support you, they talk about you in the living rooms. They tell their daughters, don't you ever bring that man inside of this house. You better go and get you a Pookie. They don't listen. These people are not equal. They're not equitable. They're not diversifying, right? They're not diversifying inside of their households. They're not diversifying inside of their families. They just want you to add them as a beneficiary to your diversity, equity, and inclusion crew so that they can benefit from it. They hate you. They hate they hate America. Race baiters hate America. They hate this country. Every piece of it. Every piece of it. The very thing that they benefit from is the thing that they hate the most. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs is a cloak. It is an excuse for continued racism and division inside of this country. I am all in support of merit-based programs. I was having a debate last week with somebody that was trying to tell me and convince me that diversity, equity, and inclusion had more to do with finding qualified candidates in places that they wouldn't normally look. Well, how does that apply inside of retail? Is diversity, equity, and inclusion finding qualified candidates inside of retail too? And they will argue me down because they went to a HBCU and they still go to homecoming. It is an opportunity for people to cloak their racism in a business environment and to run in the Victim Olympics and act like they're not getting a leg up. Don't worry about it. I ain't done with it. We'll get back to that. I told you we was going to have a whole show today. We not going to limit ourselves. I'm not on no time limit. We going to have a whole show, not a half a show, a whole show today, all right? That's what's going on with diversity, equity, and inclusion over there at Costco and Target and all of these other companies. They are now making themselves the targets and victims, and they champion in certain companies and they getting rid of others. Let me read some of these super chats and we'll move over to the next part of the show. Slimmy in the building. Slimmy says, I see all the curse words been edited out of the after hours now too. I'm going to try and tone it down for the sake of editing. What up, bro? What up to the chasers? What up to Slimmy? We in the building, Slimmy. Shout out to you. Happy Girl in the building says, now we can shop without your crying kids in the store. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Grateful in mercy. Ain't that how the song go? Glory and power. I don't even know how the song go. Paul Harrison says, Anton regarding that disrespectful so-called bishop that disrespected President Trump. 1 Corinthians 14th chapter, verses 34 and 35 verse states that women are not permitted to speak inside of churches. John LDC says, shout out to my girlfriend Allie in Colombia and Jenny in Mexico. Video stock is at a discount due to the DeepSeek. You know what? I'm about to talk about that right now. I'm glad that you said that. Jackie Whiskey and Pinto Bean says, God will forgive you your sins if you are repentant. Jesus is our Savior. Forgiveness is very important. We have to forgive those that hurt us. Hallelujah. J-Rock 24K says, Richard Fain had me bamboozled with his thumbnail looking like a Timo AD. I see why you switched it up, big dog. Oh, he got a team. Let me go look at this. Let me see what's happening out here in these streets. Richard Fain, he said he gonna make some adjustments. YouTube. I forgot about Richard Fain, to be honest with you. Let me see. Richard Fain. Oh man, I love this life. I love the life that I live. It's such an interesting life, isn't it? Isn't it an interesting life? Anyways, let's stay focused, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to get distracted. Shout out to all of the content creators out here in these streets. J-Rock, you said it, not me. I don't have any smoke for anybody. I love everybody. A-Man01 says, where's Bill? Pudding. When you need them, you getting some pudding pops. Executive Suite MLE says, last I checked, Target, McDonald's, and other similar companies mostly employ black and Hispanic people. This is fake outrage. Smoke and mirrors. Only Square says, my mother said the white women were way worse than the white men. She was born in the 50s. Boy, if you don't know, they the ones that put the battery inside of the back. Silent Sniper says, so 100 plus black members went and shopped at Costco. Let's just say spending $200 each, $20,000, but we are oppressed. Yeah, we are oppressed by ignorance. B. Jefferson is in the building, says, the intentional American, any new coaching sessions coming up? I'm not sure yet. I got to figure it out. I'm working through it. I'm doing a lot of work right now. Andrea Robinson says they were on another channel looking for Al. I heard you say, get your back over here, and I'm back. Black women telling people they need Al. Shout out to my girl, Andrea. Get your butt over here. Get your butt back over here, Andrea. We ain't playing with you. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's talk about DeepSeek. Now, I understand that this may be a little bit different than what y'all used to, but we got to talk about it because we want to get to the money. Man, this is something that I cannot avoid, all right? So DeepSeek is basically a competitor, a Chinese competitor to ChatGPT, OpenAI, so on and so forth. Right now, we are in an arms race. It's one of the reasons why we continue to fight for Taiwan. Go and look it up. I'm not going to deep dive into it right now, but multiple different interviews, including from the interviews of CEO of Microsoft and so on and so forth, because DeepSeek is one of the most downloaded apps inside of the App Store today. And again, it is a Chinese company. And they are saying DeepSeek is incredible and it is open source. All right. And one of the things that it is causing is mayhem and chaos inside of the stock market from a lot of these other technology companies. Let's deep dive into it. Take a look.
Let's talk about DeepSeek because it is mind-blowing and it is shaking this entire industry to its core. The emergence of DeepSeek now putting pressure on the U.S. tech names. We told you all about it last week in Davos. The buzz started growing about DeepSeek's latest AI model being more efficient while running on a lot less advanced NVIDIA chips. Released last week, it's already being called what is a major breakthrough as the app shows its work, its reasoning. It answers users' prompts. I, by the way, was spent basically all weekend playing with it. It is the #1 app, I believe, on Apple right now. The product overtaking ChatGPT today as that on the App Store that way. DeepSeek, which was created by a Chinese hedge fund manager, also capturing the attention of leaders, as we mentioned at the World Economic Forum last week in Davos.
We should take the development out of China very, very seriously.
What we found is that DeepSeek, which is the leading Chinese AI lab, their model is actually the top performing or roughly on par with the best American models.
If the United States can't lead in this technology, we're going to be in a very bad place geopolitically.
Now, you can take a look right now at the AI-related stocks. So NVIDIA, ARM, AMD, Microsoft, Meta, interestingly, on that list, given it's open source. We got to talk about the open.
Now, this may be a discount, okay? And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to pivot and I wanted to see how the market reacted, because I actually have been using and doing comparative analysis of DeepSeek, OpenAI, Gemini, and all of the other AI platforms. And I spent about 4 hours straight just immersing myself in it, right? Creating photos, images, looking up stuff, giving a similar prompt to all applications just to see how well they perform. And I will tell you that it is a pretty incredible platform and it is all the rage. So I try to stay immersed in anything financially related, obviously. That's why we pushed Stock Club out till tomorrow, because I needed to do some research. And I want to give y'all more insight on whether or not this is actually a buy, because a lot of people are saying that these stocks is on at a discount. We'll talk about it inside of the Patreon. Today on the Millionaire Morning Show, I want to focus more on its capabilities, if you should download it or not, and whether or not technology companies are panicking as a result of it. Some people may be familiar with Stargate. Stargate is a collective of different companies that are investing in AI inside of the United States of America, already committing to, I believe, $500 billion. Trump announced it the other day. Again, we want to have this conversation because at the end of the day, we want to be entertained, but we want to come back to the money. Let's continue to deep dive into this, ladies and gentlemen.
Open source, closed source bit of this as well.
And then that's a shocker to see NVIDIA down by more than 12% right now.
Absolutely. And then you have global chip stocks also in the red across the board, ASML Holdings and others. There is the question, I will say, Alexander Wang made
Do people know who ASML is? I love ASML. I am heavily invested in ASML. ASML is the company that actually makes the equipment that creates semiconductor chips. They make the manufacturing equipment that creates semiconductor chips. There's a huge war that's happening within the semiconductor chip community and the chip community at large especially since there were some people that saying that they sold proprietary technology and went over to China from ASML and other similar countries, companies. So I personally am a huge holder, and I've always been since probably the last 5 years in ASML. I've been promoting it, talking about it a lot on a Millionaire Morning Show in previous years. So that is what ASML is. All of these companies that you see right here in some way, shape, or form is tied back to AI through the chips, through the technology, through proprietary technology, so on and so forth, all right? So all of these industries are interconnected and will be affected by anything that happens inside of the tech industry.
There is the question, I will say, Alexander Wang made the point last week, and it's become sort of the question mark about all of this, which is, he suggested on our air that it is possible that they were using some of the highest performing NVIDIA chips, perhaps as many as 50,000 of them, to build this model. Now, and they weren't supposed to have those chips.
Right.
If that's true,
not the size.
The dynamic is different. Yeah. If it's not true, then maybe all bets are off. It's possible, by the way, even if it is true, meaning even if they use those chips to create this, or at least partially to create this, it is still a significantly more efficient and better model. I think everybody agrees that right this moment, I mean, I don't know if did you get to play? It is mind-blowing.
It looks really great. I mean, it feels like it's open source, so people can test this out themselves.
But I can tell you all the tests that I do just to see whether I think the writing is better, whether I think that it can answer certain questions. Yeah. I mean, it was not only faster, it was more human. The reasoning is shocking. I mean, there were moments where I was like, "Oh my God, we are so much." You feel the step change as a person. I will also say, as exciting as it was, there was an element where I became scared because I thought, I had the opportunity to talk to all these people last week, and they all said the future is here, and and then you sort of see it, and you go, "Oh, okay, I feel you," in a different sort of visceral way. So yes, I think this is all happening at a level that when you mark your sort of AI history timeline in life, I think this past week, today, and everything else will be on it.
I think Mark Andreessen put it really succinctly and really smartly when he said that this feels like the Sputnik moment for the AI race, where China is really stepping in. So not just what it can do, but what it means for American dominance in AI, what it means for the Chinese being able to step in, and to have the Chinese actually open sourcing it, meaning that is going to be what goes around the world, and to have the cost factors that go into this. Huge step up and change, and puts us a little bit on our back foot in trying to figure out what this means. Well, I actually wonder, Satya Nadella, would he tell you again today that he's still good for the $80 billion?
I think they still are good for the $80 billion. I think actually I think the processing power issue is there's an element of which you're going to still have to have the current sort of efforts underway. I think the question longer term, I think it's a longer term question.
Can you recoup your investment? I mean, can you recoup your investment if that's the case?
Well,
I personally played with it all weekend just because I wanted to see what it was, and I needed to see how well it measured up and compared to other AI models. And it was pretty impressive. I don't think that it warrants a broad sell-off of any technology chips. Never do that. Never panic. Never move the way that the market is moving. Always stand firm. You know that we all make sure we advocate that you make 10-year investments and then you pivot accordingly. But we don't do panic selling or panic buying in a form of fear of missing out. The technology itself, and we'll talk about that on Stock Club tomorrow. The technology itself seemed to be moving faster. The results seem to be a little bit more robust. But again, I'm not sure if it actually warrants a sell-off of NVIDIA or anything like that. Based off of what I was seeing, even at CES from NVIDIA, absolutely I'm buying back in. I might even increase my positions in it. But a lot of people are saying that they fear that it is built by a Chinese company. And personally, I think that people are obsessed with anything outside of the United States of America. I don't think that Microsoft is going to be affected. I don't think NVIDIA is going to be affected. I don't think that a lot of these technology companies are going to be affected. But there is an AI arms race that is happening. I use AI in most of the things that I do in my work flow on a regular basis, from presentations to, finding certain things and look at certain things up and so on and so forth. I use AI in everything that I do. So I'm going to be doing some more research on it. Let me play a little bit more of this to see if we can mine anything else out of it before we get into Stock Club tomorrow. DeepSeek is currently the #1 app that is being downloaded inside of the App Store today.
I think this is the big issue. And I think
who's going to pay for it if they get it?
At one point, and I don't know if we talked about it on Squawk or it might have been on Worldwide Exchange, one of the things that I was hearing that was fascinating out there is there were so many CEOs who were saying, you know what, I'm using OpenAI and I'm playing around with Anthropic to figure out what I need to do. And then, which is expensive for us, and we don't really love that. So we're playing around with what we need, and then we're trying to figure out how much of it we can replicate using Llama, which is the meta version of it, but it's open source and effectively, therefore, free.
Well, and you can have some control over it, too, as being
And they
open
want
source.
more widespread adoption of it. That's why they then make it open source and free.
You can do things that you end up,
Right.
you're not so beholden to OpenAI.
But to me, that's the issue. So here we have a situation where if people are already starting to move towards open source models, and I don't think that have been talked about publicly, really.
Right.
That's a whole kind of paradigm change.
Just back to the question on Microsoft. Microsoft shares down 6.8% this morning. Is there a point where Satya says, okay, maybe I'm not good for the $80 billion?
I don't know. I think he's still going to need this technology over the next 5 years. The question is, can he go, is he going to start using DeepSeek? By the way, there's a separate question, which is, if we think we have a problem with TikTok.
Oh, I thought this instantaneously.
Right. If we think we have a problem with TikTok, do we have a problem with this? Now, interestingly, this is an open source model.
You can take it and do your own stuff with it.
You can put it on your own
So they're not
computers.
owning unless there's something in it that we don't understand.
Right. They talk about Project Texas with.
But I thought the
you
same
can have
thing.
it on your own.
TikTok looks like posers play compared to what this could potentially be. Although this is OpenAI, so you can take it and source it yourself and figure something out from it. So you're not storing it on their servers.
Anyway, it's fascinating. I think I don't know. We should call Satya, get him back, because the truth is he does need some form of AI, for his co-pilot and all of his other.
Yeah, I see you, Car. You're saying that DeepSeek is down right now. They're saying that it got hit with a virus. They taking it down already. I don't know. When I see things become super popular at that time, when everybody is obsessing with it at one time, I start to get a little bit more, what's the words that I'm looking for? Cautious. Because I don't jump at the time that everybody else jumps. I'm very, very intentional and I do my research. But I will talk about it on Stock Club tomorrow and I will let you guys know what I find. And it has been an absolute awesome show. Let me read the rest of these super chats and then I'll get y'all up out of here. Shout out to all of the race baiters still using Amazon Meta and X. Right, exactly. They all went over to that new company that's an X competitor. All these oppressed people complaining on the internet from $1,500 phones. The curse words during the after hour makes it more fun to watch. Yeah, I just need to make sure that I'm a little bit. I don't want to be too egregious, though. How's it going, Anton? Says Manuel AG just joined the Bag Chasers today. Looking forward to getting the bag in 2025. Shout out to all of the new Bag Chasers. And Ken J says, how can they have exceeded 01 performance? No buy? Yeah, I'm a chill. It's not a publicly traded company anyway, but yeah, I'll keep an eye on it and we'll talk about it in the Patreon tomorrow. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. And we got the Q show tonight. Q show is going to be popping. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You are the greatest audience on the face of the earth. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Hopefully y'all enjoying the Millionaire Morning Show and you share it with your family and friends. Hit a like on your way out the door. Peace.